How are you feeling?
Whatever.
How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you here?
That's difficult to answer.
I'm not clear. How is it that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital?
That's difficult to answer.
street. Is this the end? Is this the end? There's a noise inside my head of crying people facing death. Is this the end? Is this the end?
I just want to remind everyone that we love Jews here, and Jews are always welcome here, and we're definitely not anti-Semitic, and Hitler was the worst person that ever lived and all that. But you know what? Like, I'm actually getting a fair bit of satisfaction from seeing Iran bomb the shit out of Israel. I am. I'm getting a fair bit of satisfaction because I think Israel deserves it. It's not because Israel's Jewish, it's because Israel is a bully. And Israel is driving us to the brink of World War III right now. And Trump seems to be posturing over on Truth Social like Iran is going to get nuked at any second, which is just great for everyone. Yeah, actually, isn't that funny? A year ago, I was off to young Nicholas Fuentes AFPAC event. Yeah. Yep, I do remember that, Reagan. I remember that very, very, very well. The year of the Groyper, the year where I became accepted by the Groypers. They even sent me a Groyper pin when I bought my America First hat. Nicholas J. Fuentes, one of the longest standing quote unquote internet friendships, I guess, that I have. Who would have thought? I know this is not the subject of this stream, but we got a couple extra minutes. Who would have thought that, like, of all the people I could form some sort of unholy alliance with, that Nick Fuentes and the Groypers would actually turn out to be the most reliable of any group of people that I have been tangentially associated with the entire time I've been on the internet. Well, I think I mean, a whole year of being in-person friends with the Groypers, because I met a bunch of them at AFPAC. Yeah. Who would have thunk? Who would have thunk it? Trendlin, thank you for the super sticker. LK, congrats on all the recent well-deserved success. Well, I hope the well-deserved success continues, but I have a sneaking suspicion the shadow ban's coming back. I can tell just from the numbers. I posted a video of something crazy and outlandish like a couple hours ago, and it's gotten almost no views. So everyone, listen, if you're new to my content, you guys, everyone is responsible here. I cannot control the YouTube algorithm. I can't control if people click on the videos when they're offered to them. I can't control if people mount the like button. I can't control if people subscribe to the channel. What I'm telling you, though, is if you've just found my content recently on YouTube and you would like to continue to be served my content, we all need to participate in this. I show up every single day. What I need you guys to do is make sure you're clicking on videos, make sure you're liking videos, making sure you're commenting on videos. That it really does help. You might think it doesn't, but it really, really does. And if you don't do these things, the shadow ban's coming back. I promise you. I saw YouTube batch unsubscribing people from my channel at around 3 a.m. last night. Oh, Tommy, as though my shit ever gets served on Rumble. As though my are you kidding? Rumble is even worse for me than YouTube. So, didn't I take a long distance road trip with one of the groypers? I did. And then at the end of that road trip, I hung out with several more groypers. Average person, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. All right, guys. I didn't do a stream at 5 p.m. today, honestly, because I was really, really tired. Because we did a spy stream earlier today. We did a spy stream where we went inside a live leftist training and we heard them say some crazy things. And if you guys missed the crazy things that we heard, well, first off, check the video on my YouTube channel because this is the reason. Actually, let me just post that. This is the reason that I think the shadow ban is coming back, because all of a sudden I posted a video saying it's okay for 16-year-olds to use DIY hormones without this is basically the spy stream thing from earlier. It's only got a couple hundred views. So we did a spy stream earlier where we basically saw taxpayer funded training from the state of Massachusetts telling teachers they do not have to tell parents when kids come to school and change their gender. It told teachers that if 16-year-olds are DIYing do-it-yourselfing hormones, that's just not enough of a safety risk to report to parents, I swear to God. And it also said that if girls feel uncomfortable with biological males in the girls' locker room, then those girls need to be taken aside and struggle sessioned so that they accept the boys in the locker room, sort of thing. All three things in one presentation. And there was a whole bunch more too. I posted a highlight reel over on the Substack. Taxpayer funded training says it's safe for 16-year-olds to DIY hormones without telling their parents. This really happened earlier today. So you can catch the clip over on the Substack. You can find it on the YouTube channel. Apparently only a couple hundred people watched it. I don't know why more. There's been almost 30. Here's the thing. There's been almost 30,000 people that have watched it on Twitter. There's been 300 on YouTube. This is why I think the shadow ban's coming back. So everyone needs to work together. Mount the like button. Do all that stuff. Do every single thing that you can. Participate in the chat. All this tells YouTube to keep my videos in the algorithm, and hopefully we can stem the shadow ban a little while longer. But guys, we are doing a spy stream double feature today because the first thing we have is, of course, the No Kings protests were on Saturday. Oh, you didn't get a notification? Imagine my shock. Imagine my shock that YouTube would not be sending out notifications for my channel. Imagine my shock. Scott, thank you for the $5 super chat. I appreciate it. So, guys, we're going to do a double feature spy stream tonight. This is obviously going to be a public spy stream. Fun fact, most of my spy streams are supporter only, like the one we did earlier today. You have to sign up on my Substack or one of the other places where you support my work in order to get access. YouTube channel members get access. So if you become a member of the YouTube channel, you'll get access through the community tab. But I'm doing the No Kings protest stuff publicly because I do think it's first of all in the public interest. Secondly, I know I won't get in trouble for doing it publicly. So that's why we're doing this. And we've got today, obviously on Saturday. Did you guys know that Saturday was the single biggest single day protest in American history? It drives me insane. Conservative media is saying no one even came out for the protest. No one was even protesting. Everyone was staying at home. That's such bullshit. Have you guys seen any conservative con artists talking about this? It's like the turnout for the No Kings protest was massive. It was massive. It was massive all over the country and in red areas too. I saw Boise, Idaho had a huge turnout. I saw places in Ohio having a huge turnout. North Carolina had a huge turnout. North Carolina had Antifa at it in North Carolina. They were all over the country, these red areas, having a pretty nice turnout, all things considered. And of course, the blue areas, like all the cities, were just hundreds of thousands of people in some of these places. And so it apparently turned out to be the largest single-day protest in American history. It was even larger than the Women's March back in 2017. That's how big it was. And conservatives, all they're talking about is they're trying to convince everyone it was a massive failure. I don't think we're going to see the left saying it was a massive failure tonight. So we're going to be watching the debrief call for the No Kings protest, and we're going to find out exactly what the left thinks about how this went. And guys, just so you guys know, for people who are new to my channel does not follow the news cycle. So conservative media isn't going to report on the No Kings protest anymore. I promise you. They're going to now go back to sleep until the next big thing happens. We don't stop. We don't stop listening to the left. We don't stop monitoring the left. This is how we know what the left is doing ahead of everyone else on the internet. Because just because conservative media goes back to sleep or the news cycle changes to another story, our focus is constant and consistent on tracking what the left is doing, regardless of how many people show up to see it, regardless of how much media coverage there is. That's how we stay ahead of things, and that's how you guys know more about what's going on the left than anyone else on the internet. I wrote AF because when I wrote the full word, my super chat was rejected. Oh no. Scott, thank you for that. Yeah, too many places are dismissing this. So tonight, the No Kings people are going to have a debrief call. And they're going to announce what's next, because these people have been organizing protests basically on a monthly basis since like February. And the protests are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So the next protest that these people organize, which will probably be announced tonight, will likely be even bigger than the No Kings one was this past weekend. And that should terrify everyone. Okay, so we're going to watch that. Now, a little scheduling snafu. It happened that I was also signed up for another spy stream at exactly the same time as this No Kings thing. And there is an organization called CodePink. CodePink's been in the news a lot lately. I've been monitoring CodePink for years. CodePink is an organization that is absolutely funded by the CCP, 100%. They are very well funded. They're more like Democratic Socialists of America, more like they're not super radical revolutionary like they are, but they also aren't. It's hard to explain. Anyway, CodePink is an organization I keep an eye on. They do these disruptive things in front of Congress, and they've been actually doing a feminist resisting fascism summer school. And actually, the founder of CodePink is scheduled to speak at this summer school at 8 p.m. tonight. But here's the thing about CodePink that I know. They're live streaming this speech on their YouTube channel. So what that means is we can watch the No Kings debrief live. And then when the No Kings debrief is done, we can go back and watch the CodePink thing on demand. So we get a double feature. How great is that? We get 2 spy streams for the price of 1 spy stream. And I can do both these publicly. And that way we get back-to-back action on the far left tonight. Is everyone on board with that? Mount the like button if you are on the board with that, guys. We got about 4 minutes left. As a reminder, if you would like to support the work I'm doing and keep me in business, because I am 100% funded by people just like you, please make sure you mount the like button for me. Mounting the like button lets people know to come to the YouTube channel. Please make sure you are subscribed to the channel if you are not already, because of course we're welcoming a lot of new subscribers lately, and I really appreciate everyone that's new here. And most importantly, please make sure you are subscribed to my Substack. Now, it is totally free to subscribe to my Substack. It's Karlyn, Karlyn.substack.com. It is the very best place to get notifications and updates about clips I'm posting, live streams I'm doing, different articles and analysis that I have. I have a massive back catalog of clips and articles on the Substack that you can access anytime You can always sign up for free. The vast majority of my content is free. But if you guys appreciate the work I'm doing, I am 100% funded by people just like you. You can sign up to support my work on the Substack for $8 a month or $80 a year. This is my primary way that I do like people to support my work, is by having a membership on the Substack. You get a variety of perks that come along with that, like access to my supporter Discord, access to our supporter-only spy streams, stuff like that. So there are special privileges that come along with supporting my work. And most of all, you keep me doing this, because if you guys don't fund my ability to do this, I can't spend all my time on the internet streaming with you guys and talking about socialism, just the way it goes. So please make sure you're signed up on the Substack, at least for free email updates. But if you can afford to support the work I'm doing, please consider doing so today. Another way you can support the work I'm doing is, of course, by sending in a super chat on the channel, and I would appreciate those. Now, let me get our Zoom call up here for this here training. Let me get the Zoom up. Ugh. I hate these people so much sometimes. Hey, Jan, thank you for being a member of the channel. Everyone mount the like button, because Karlyn is the best and deserves all the recognition. I appreciate that, Jan. That's very nice of you. All right. Got to go to my email because this link isn't working. Yes, open the Zoom. Okay, they haven't let anyone in yet. So we're still waiting to get into the No Kings protest. Guys, I've been looking through all those Antifa zines. There's so many. And I don't know, like, so in addition to the paper Antifa zines that we got, we also got access to a massive, massive, massive digital archive. And I don't know, like, I've got I gave a few people in my community the link to the digital archive of the Antifa. Like, Reagan, did you see the anti-adult supremacy stuff? They've got a whole section on resources for kids in the education folder. Did you see that? They've got a whole anti-adult supremacy zine. Like, we hit the treasure trove of leftist propaganda with this Antifa stuff. And I'm going to be showing it to you guys. It's an overwhelming amount of information. So please bear with me. We are going to show it to you guys. We are going to read it and all that stuff. It's going to be made publicly available. You dismissed it. I gave you the link for this. It's in the GC, and you were like, "Oh, I've seen these already." And I was like, "Really? Have you looked at the digital archive? Because the digital archive is pretty rad." And you haven't seen all the ones in the digital archive. I know you haven't, because they aren't on Crime Think's website. Yeah, exactly. Not paying attention. It's okay. That's all right, Master Shake. It's all right. Master Shake. Yep. Okay. You dismissed it too soon, sir. You dismissed the link too soon. Andy, no. I mean, Andy's doing his thing. I'm doing my thing. I appreciate Andy. I don't really collaborate with people ever. I do my own thing. We are just waiting for the Zoom meeting to start, guys. Hang on one sec. Sit tight. Welcome, everyone, to the show that never ends. Hey, everyone. How is everyone feeling about the fact that Iran is bombing the shit out of Israel?
Recording in progress.
We'll talk about that another day. Talk about that another day.
This land is ours.
Uh-oh.
And
Music.
we are free.
Musical intro.
From the desert sands to the shining sea.
Oh, you guys can't see it yet.
Hand in hand, and unbent, unbroke.
Give it a
You
sec.
spit your head.
I might have to restart.
We wake, we woke. You heard us,
I
right?
may have to restart. Guys, I need to restart my browser. I will be right back. Okay, let me take more time before I restart. I may have to restart my browser. If I do,
owns the USA.
sometimes this just happens. And
There
it
ain't no king,
Okay.
ain't no king in the
Okay,
USA.
I'll be right back. Everyone sit tight. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back.
He ain't no fool, no matter what he say. Sing the truth. He says, hell no, we won't. We say not today. Not today. Cause there ain't no king. Ain't no king in the USA.
I'll be right back. Bye. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Bye. We're back. We made it. You missed nothing. Sorry about that. Not my fault. I told everyone I was going to be right back. No sound. Do you guys have sound? No audio. Okay, hang on one sec. You guys haven't missed anything. Don't worry about it.
People of goodwill that can make it stop. So I think I'm in the right place. I think you're in the right place. I'm going to be your host and MC for the evening. And I'm so excited about what we have lined up for you. Before I hand it over to our first speakers, I'm going to do some quick housekeeping. So first of all, closed captioning is available for this call. So if you are on YouTube or on Zoom and you don't yet see captions and you want to, you can click the CC button at the bottom of your screen. Again, if you want to see the closed captioning, you can just go down, press the CC button at the bottom of your Zoom or YouTube screen, and you will see the captions. Second, and the question that I always get the most, I'm already getting text messages asking me about it. I'm sure if I checked my email today, I would see emails asking about it. This call is being recorded. We are recording this call for heretofore, for the foreseeable future. You can imagine that if it is a mass call, we will likely record it. We are recording this one this evening, and you're going to receive a follow-up email with this recording, as well as with all of the links to the calls to action, and you'll get information that all of the speakers are sharing tonight via email. So I promise you, if you're tuning in later and you're watching the recording, you're going to get all of this via email. You do not have to stress out. If you miss what someone says, we're going to make sure that we get follow-up with you so that you can actually participate in all of what's coming next after our massive mobilization for No Kings. So the call is being recorded. You're going to get an email with all the links and information. We're going to share that with you after the call tonight. And last, but certainly not least, you've noticed that we've turned off the chat and the Q&A features of Zoom and YouTube tonight. That is simply because of the size of the call, y'all. Like, we want to make sure that y'all can hear the speakers and that you're not getting lost in the sauce of 20,000 people chatting in the Zoom and however many folks are watching on YouTube right now. So we're going to turn that off for now. We're so glad to have so many people bringing energy and your presence, your spirit with us tonight. And we know that what our speakers are going to cover is going to reverberate and come to fruition through the on-the-ground organizing, the debriefing, the processing, the vision building toward next steps that folks like you are going to be doing in your local communities after tonight. But it would not be a mass call if we didn't create some opportunity for you to get in conversation with us. So if you want to chat with me via the interwebs, I want you to do something for me. I want you to use the social media app of your choice and continue to use the hashtag No Kings throughout the call. That's a way for you all to talk to each other and for me to be able to see if you're saying anything to me and our speakers tonight. We can practice right now. I want you to get your phone or your laptop ready, go to the social media app of your choice, and I want you to tell me that you're on the call tonight and invite the people that you're friends with on that social media app to join us. So I want you to go on the social media app of your choice. I want you to use hashtag No Kings, and I want you to say, hey, I'm tuned in tonight because I am ready to follow up on our direct action, our protest, our mass mobilization with some concrete things, some meaningful work moving forward to seal the deal on making sure that we salvage democracy and we stop this authoritarian so-called king. If you're into it, do it, and I'll try to find you on the interwebs and shout you out throughout the call. All right. Now that we've got the logistics out of the way, I also want to do some grounding for tonight because I know that many of you, like me, are rushing from other meetings, maybe from taking care of your kiddos or your parents, maybe from doing some self-care that many of us have been working all day, and you might be coming straight off the clock. So let's take a second to arrive together. I'm going to invite you to take in a deep breath through your nose.
Don't
and
do
breathe
it.
it out through your mouth.
Don't do it. This is hypnotizing. Don't do
Let's
this.
get
Don't ever
grounded.
do deep breathing with these people.
Because what a big moment we just created together. It happened. We mobilized millions of people over the weekend. We did it. And while there's so much incredible things that have come from it, so much that remains undone that we will do together, so much solidarity to continue to live into, we also don't have to ignore that some of us came because we felt alone, we felt hopeless, we felt powerless. Some of us came even though it was scary, and we don't have to ignore our fear. Being brave and courageous does not mean we're not scared, but this weekend was also so much more than fear. As you're going to hear about shortly, this was an incredible day of solidarity and strategic nonviolent protest. That said, we also know that this weekend was not without its losses. In particular, we want to take a moment to acknowledge and mourn the loss of Arthur Balassa Alou, who was shot in Salt Lake City. The entire No Kings Coalition was completely devastated to hear of this news, and our hearts go out to Offa's family, to Offa's friends, to every single one of us impacted by this tragedy. In Salt Lake City, a day of joyous protest ended with senseless violence. The Constitution is supposed to afford us the right to peacefully assemble.
Thanks,
and this shooting does not take away that inherent right. It only strengthens our resolve to rise together with one another in solidarity against harm to any and every single one of us. We all deserve to live in healthy, sustainable, and equitable communities. Y'all, this is our opportunity to remember that we get to assemble in protest and bend the moral arc of the universe towards justice, beloved community, and democracy in the face of the violence that we see every day, and especially that we saw this weekend. I want to let you know that there is a GoFundMe to support Offa's family during this terribly challenging time. And we're going to drop the link in the chat right now. I'm going to give, and I want you to support if you can. So please click the link in the chat, the GoFundMe link in the chat, to support Offa's family during this time. Let's take another collective breath together.
Don't do it.
Breathe in our commitment to each other.
Don't.
Breathe in our desire to live in a country and a world with no kings.
Only people.
Breathe in this
No
desire to experience democracy together, where everyone gets to experience it with all of us. And breathe out fear. Breathe out division. Breathe out all the things that attempt to fracture and dismember us from one another. Let's take another deep breath in.
No.
Full of love and solidarity and camaraderie.
Collective yoga.
Solidarity with Offa's family and all the people that are impacted by violence in all of its forms in every single place in our neighborhoods, in this country, in this world. And let's breathe out love and solidarity until it reaches every single corner, from the hollers to the hoods, across our states, across the US, and across the world. We remain proud and grateful for everything that was accomplished this weekend, every good thing, everything that laughed and built joy and community in the face of evil, and every single one of you who are part of that. And we're not going to stop here. Now I have the esteemed privilege to hand it off to my friend and my colleague, Ezra. Y'all know Ezra, the co-founder of Indivisible, to talk about how we got to know Kings and how this became the story of this moment. Ezra, I'll toss it to you.
Hey, Ashley, I am so thankful you are here to lead us through this. I can't help but just get fired up every time you are leading a call. It's like you channel the energy from all over the country. And God, I mean, looking at the emojis and people talking about where they're coming from, you just get the sense of how far afield everybody is. Every nook and cranny of this country was coming together this weekend. I'm going to kind of try to go briefly because I get to turn it over to some incredible group leaders. So some context, y'all, a little reminder of how we got to where we are right now. When we heard Trump was planning his absolutely pathetic birthday military parade to waste $100 million of our dollars, our taxpayer dollars, on this ridiculous authoritarian, theatrical, shambolic event. Look, that was ridiculous, but it was worse than ridiculous. It was dangerous. straight out of the authoritarian playbook. This is the kind of thing you expect to see in a North Korea and in China, not in the United States of America. And it was obvious to all of us what his goal was. It was obvious to anybody watching what his goal was. He wanted to project strength. He wanted to cow the opposition into submission. That's why we put together No King's Day, to send a message that democracy was reasserting itself, that people are the ultimate source of political power. And in America, the people aren't going to bow to a king. That was the simple plan. Sounded like a pretty good plan to me. But look, a plan is just a plan until people make it real. When we launched nearly 2 months ago, there were a few dozen events on the map. By June 14th, 2,169 events worldwide. I want to call out, I'm with Indivisible. This is not the Indivisible show. This is not the Indivisible show. AFT, ACLU, Black Voters Matter, Common Defense, Union Veterans Council. By the time of Saturday, there were 250 partners all over the country who were getting behind this. And we were spreading the word through word of mouth. We were spreading the word through grassroots leaders. We were also spreading the word through new media. I really got to shout out new and independent media that helped spread this word, because when legacy corporate media was ignoring what was going on the ground, with some exceptions, Rachel Maddow, but when lots of legacy media was ignoring it, we saw folks like the creators, like Lee McGowan, Politics Girl, Aaron Parnas, new media operations like The Contrarian and Midas Touch. For folks who are in this space, media is oxygen for a social movement. It's oxygen. And when the corporate legacy media declines to cover what's happening on the ground, we get oxygen from this burgeoning field of creators, of influencers, of media mavens. This is a partnership that's early in its existence, but it's yielding fruit. The proof is in the pudding. All told, y'all, what did we do together? We put on one of the largest protests in American history. Sit with that. One of the largest protests in American history. Trump wanted to send this message to the world, this message of strength. We sent that message instead. That's what we did together. Blue states, red states, purple states, city centers, suburbs, rural America, LA, Chicago, Austin, Atlanta, New York City, Homer, Alaska, Boise, Idaho, Lockhart, Texas, Winnebago, Wisconsin. We have friends everywhere. That's what we showed. A conservative estimate has us turning out more than 5 million people across more than 20 countries. I was in Philadelphia. I was with Randy Weingarten from the AFT, Rural Roman from Georgia, the Dr. King's family, and about 100,000 Americans showing up in defense of democracy. And God, I wish I could tell the stories from all 2,169 of the events that happened this weekend, but that would take all night for several weeks. So I'm going to leave that up to the historians to tell that in detail. But before we get to the practical action items, I know that's important to all of us. We want to act. I want to encourage us to recognize it is our duty to celebrate. This work is hard. The opposition is relentless. They want to wear us down. Celebration under autocratic breakthrough is an act of defiance. That's what we're doing right now. So just to give us a small taste of the power across the country this weekend, I'm excited to introduce some representatives from 2 events who are going to share about their work. Now, they did this in the face of horrific tragedy. Minnesotans showed up. You showed up anyway. And I'm honored. I'm thrilled. I'm proud to be in this movement with y'all and to introduce Rebecca Larson and Lisa Erbs, the co-founders, co-leaders of Indivisible's Twin Cities. Rebecca and Lisa, take it away.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Ezra. We woke up Saturday morning and ready to go hold our event at the state capitol in St. Paul, and got the news that 2 of our legislators and their spouses had been shot in their homes during the night. We knew it wasn't an accident, that it happened on June 14th. But we decided to go to the Capitol and to the March start site so that we could start setting up, because we just didn't have enough information at that point to make any big decisions. Unfortunately, quickly we found out that Melissa Hartman, who had at one time been the Speaker of the House in Minnesota, and her husband Mark had been killed in that attack. And at that point, everything just sort of blew up. we were immediately being in contact by the Minnesota State Police, our contacts that we'd worked with, about canceling our event. And we thought about it for maybe 15 seconds. And then we realized very quickly that we had to honor Melissa and her husband. I'm sorry. I knew I wasn't going to get through this. But we also didn't want to give the murderer what he wanted. And that was to upset these events all over the country. And that if we canceled, we were giving in to him. We were bowing to him and to the authoritarians. So we quickly threw our program right out the window. The governor and lieutenant governor were supposed to speak. They both had to cancel because of security concerns. And that was our main concern too. We were very worried about the people that were gathering, and they were gathering by thousands. I mean, we already very early on, we had thousands of people at the Capitol and at the March site. So we ended up kind of just winging it right from the get-go. We had quite a few musicians that we'd lined up, and they all got there a little early. And so we just started putting them on stage. We asked them to be respectful and to kind of tone things down a bit because of the somber mood, but they all did it, and they were amazing. And then we didn't know if we were going to have any speakers show up, but Keith Ellison, our Attorney General, was right there on the spot, ready to go. And he was also he inspired everyone. And as we went through, I just sort of turn around and there would be a speaker standing there, and I just would go, okay, get up on the stage. And all but 3 people showed up and spoke. And at the end of the day, it was just actually really beautiful. Rebecca?
Yep, I'm ready. Yeah, I am just going to talk a little bit about the messages that we tried to send to the crowd that ultimately gathered, and we're estimating that 80,000 people showed up. And we gave a moment of silence for Melissa and Mark. Our colleague from Minnesota 5051 gave a tribute to Melissa and the work that she had done for the state of Minnesota and Minnesotans. And then I spoke representing Indivisible and talked about basically I was scheduled to speak at the end, but I spoke at the beginning. And interestingly enough, what I had planned to say at the end was still appropriate for the beginning, maybe even more so. And like many of us, we've been quoting Reverend William Barber, which is how I began. And I said, in the words of Reverend William Barber, no one can be a king unless we bow. And I told the crowd assembled, today we have not bowed. You have shown courage. You could have made the choice to stay home, but you didn't. And this was prescient. When I wrote these words, I didn't know what we were going to be faced with in that moment. This choice is not free of risk, which was so apparent that day, and there are reasons to feel fear. But today you showed up with millions of others around the country in resistance to the wrecking ball that this administration is taking to our people and our democracy. And then I talked about what became a theme throughout the program. We know what works. We know that sustained, nonviolent, peaceful protest is what has worked throughout history and across the globe to topple authoritarians. And we are one of those peaceful and nonviolent movements right here, right now. And I asked people to just keep showing up, to keep coming back as the call to action in that moment. And it was, as Lisa said too, it was changing as we went along. We could feel the power in that group. It was in the people gathered. It was palpable. It was incredible. And then from there, I introduced Attorney General Ellison, who gave a moving speech. He knew Melissa Hortman very well. They had worked together. And then as Lisa said, we continued and gave every speaker a chance to speak to the crowd and tell us what we needed to hear. And that's what we did in front of 80,000 people. Oh, we can do better than that. I see all the emojis flying. Folks are blowing up my blue sky, showing you all so much love. Lisa and Rebecca, I said it earlier when we were getting ready. Y'all are my sheroes. Thank you for being brave in the face of just evil. Just evil. Pure and simple. Just evil. Thank you for being good in a moment where evil could have distracted us, could have quieted us, could have scared us away from doing the right thing. Thank you for pushing the moral arc of the universe toward justice. We're so grateful for both of you and for being here. Know that we love you. We've got you. We got your back. We're right here, ready and able to support you all. So thank you again for being here and sharing the story of what went down this weekend. We love y'all. Y'all show some love for them again. Follow Indivisible Twin Cities because they're doing righteous work out here in the world. Make sure you hashtag No King so we could show them your love later after the call is over. Lisa and Rebecca, thank you for everything.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. What a powerful event we just heard about. And thank you, Ezra, for reminding us that it was here, there, and everywhere. That's how many of us came to this call. We also know we've got some homies here that maybe couldn't go to a protest, so they're coming to see what went down and how they can get involved now. So I'm going to keep us pushing forward, and I am so excited to bring up our next guest speaker. Y'all, I'm not introducing her to anybody. Y'all all know and love her because she's been a people's champion. Representative Pramila Jayapal is on the call with us tonight. Representative Jayapal was elected to Washington's 7th District in 2016. Y'all know her because she's been in the streets with us. She's a lifelong organizer for immigrant, civil, and human rights. She is the former chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus and has been an advocate and an incredibly resolute ally in the inside-outside work of grassroots movements and congressional strategy. Representative Jayapal, welcome.
Thank you so much, Ashley. Thank you, Ezra. Oh my God. Thank you, Lisa and Rebecca. That was so beautiful. And I know I was so moved, and I ended up having to change my whole speech and start with what happened in Minnesota, because I think in so many ways, this is about recognizing all of the truths that are out there. And there are really horrible truths out there that are driving us. And so I want to just start with a huge thank you to all the Minnesota folks and to everybody across this country for standing up and channeling that outrage and that anger at the actions of this administration and all the people that they have essentially allowed to do these terrible things. Huge thank you to all the organizations, Indivisible, of course, ACLU, American Federation of Teachers, 50501, Black Voters Matter, Public Citizen, Common Defense, Human Rights Campaign. This was just what the country needed to see, what people in our cities across the country needed to see. And Saturday's No Kings was incredible, really incredible. Such a unifying day of protest all across the country. With an estimated 5 million people. You heard Ezra say that, but it deserves repeating. 5 million people representing diverse voices from different communities and backgrounds, different ages, different races, different ideologies, but everybody saying, this was our chant in Seattle, no kings, no crowns, the people won't bow down. Our event here in Seattle was incredible. It was, I think, the second largest in our history as a city. More than 70,000 people showed up. And the energy was just so powerful, because I think it is really important for people to realize that they are not alone, and that we have to come together and show Trump and his minions that power doesn't flow from the top down. It flows from the bottom up. It flows from we the people, and that our collective power is so much stronger than their collective greed and hate, and that our nonviolent resistance will triumph over authoritarianism. I mentioned that it was not an easy speech for me to give, actually, and I got emotional talking about what happened in Minnesota in the wake of so many horrific things, from the ICE raids to the indictment of my colleague LaMonica McIver and the assault and the handcuffing of Alex Padilla. And what I think was so beautiful, at least here in Seattle, I think across the country, what I'm hearing is that we held all of these moments together, as we needed to do. and will continue to need to do. That is the way that we win, by just taking the time to acknowledge the things we're feeling, being real about it, and then using that to build our strength together. Now we have to take the success, the joy, the energy of No Kings forward with us. Now, I think some of you know about the 3.5% rule. It says that the people are most successful at stopping dictators and authoritarians when the number of people taking multiple actions, engaging in non-cooperation and nonviolent resistance reaches a sustained 3.5% of the population. 5 million gets us halfway there, folks. So it is absolutely possible for us to continue to build and to inspire the people in our neighborhoods, rural, urban, swing district, purple, red, state, whatever. We need to keep going, and we need to meet this moment with our strength, our anger turned into power. We know that the Trump administration is going to continue to escalate. They're going to continue to attack vulnerable communities and our democracy. And it's all part, it's not disconnected things, y'all. It is part of a coordinated effort to exert complete power over us, right? To strip our healthcare and our education, to silence our speech, to bully our kids, to control our bodies, all the while enriching themselves. Well, I think what we showed on Saturday and what we will show into the future is, in America, we don't have kings, and we say, hell no. This weekend, we showed them that we're paying attention, and we, the people, will never back down from this fight. So sign up for the next event, go to the next community meeting, stay engaged and informed, stay ready for the next organizing effort. And you don't have to wait. You can do this organizing on your own, and then that can all build into the coordinated events like No Kings this past Saturday. So if I had the bullhorn right now, I would have us all chant together, no kings, no crowns, the people won't back down. But thank you all so much for your work to protect our beautiful and very fragile democracy.
Y'all give it up one time with the No Kings hashtag for our people's champion, Representative Jai Paul. We're so grateful that you took time out of your incredibly busy schedule to be here with us tonight. We appreciate you. Y'all, I promised that I would shout some of y'all out, and y'all took it to heart. I think people didn't believe that I was really checking the hashtag, but I am, and y'all have blown my blue sky up. So a couple of questions that I want to answer real quick. One, yes, we are recording. Yes, you are going to get a link to the recording, and yes, you are going to get all of the calls to action and information from all of our speakers when the call is concluded. I also want to tell those of you that are saying, Ashley, I can't get into the Zoom. It's all good. We got you, boo. Just go on over to YouTube, and we've dropped the link to the YouTube live stream in the chat and comments. So I need my friends that are on social media to copy that link and put it out in the world so folks know that they can join us on the live stream, because y'all maxed out the Zoom call before we could even fully get into the call. So make sure that our folks can see it, put it on Blue Sky, put it on Instagram, all the places that you are. We want to make sure that people that are looking for us can find us. Yes. So do that, and make sure you hashtag it No King so I can shout you out. A couple of folks that I want to shout out before we move into the next speaker. I see one of our colleagues. What is your name? Your name is Alan Gardner. And Alan said that he's on the Zoom tonight. His 89-year-old mom was at the mass mobilization on Saturday in New York, and she's here on the Zoom call with us tonight. So hello, ma'am. We're glad that you are here. I also see Ruth, who told me that in her town of 16,483 people in Vienna, Virginia, they had 1,489 people show up. So shout out to the folks in the red states. Shout out for the folks in the hollers, in the country towns. I see y'all. Thank you for showing up and showing out for No Kings and making this more than a moment, but a movement. Y'all heard from the Congresswoman about why it's so important that we accomplished what we did this past weekend, as well as why it's so incredibly crucial that we keep going. And to talk more about what it looks like to keep going and our theory of change in this moment of authoritarian breakthrough, I'm so excited to bring up my sister and my friend in this work, Maria Stephan. of the Horizons Project. Y'all show some love for Maria as she comes online. Maria, it's so good to see your face.
Thank you so much, Ashley. It's wonderful to be in this space with you. And huge thank you to everyone on this call who made No Kings a stunning success, and special love to our friends in Minnesota who persevered in the face of tremendous adversity to bring people out and to resist in this moment. So thank you all. 5 million people in towns and villages across this country, including in deep red districts, is no joke. You all smashed it. Mass protests like these are incredibly powerful. They build a sense of unity, solidarity, and connection. They show that lots of people from diverse parts of society are fed up with the status quo. They shift social norms about what is acceptable and what isn't, and they create the social permission for groups to stop complying with the authoritarian status quo. So I'm going to ask my friends at Indivisible to show some slides. So this is the key, and Representative Jayapal was referring to the research from about how nonviolent resistance movements around the world have defeated authoritarian regimes. So the key here is understanding that we need to get the pillars of support for authoritarianism. These are the organizations and institutions that provide autocrats with the social, political, and economic power they need to wield control. Think here, businesses, religious organizations, bureaucracies, unions, professional associations, media outlets, police, and military. All of these pillars whose skills, resources, and power autocrats rely on. We need to get these pillars to stop complying with authoritarian regimes. That's key to the success of our pro-democracy movements. Next slide, please. Leaders from our civil rights movement, probably our greatest pro-democracy movement in this country, completely understood this. They understood that simply protesting the politicians backing Jim Crow or relying on advocacy and litigation alone was insufficient. They needed to target the enablers of racial authoritarianism, notably the civic institutions and businesses that were propping it up. That was the logic behind the Montgomery bus boycott, one of the greatest civil resistance campaigns in the history of the world, and the lunch counter sit-ins, where Black folks helped to defund the businesses that were enabling segregation. These campaigns visibilized non-cooperation. They generated pressure, and they strengthened the legal and legislative action towards multiracial democracy. Next slide. But of course, these pillars are not monolithic. They are made up of people with different identities, interests, and loyalties. This is just an example of what the cross-section of the business pillar looks like, with CEOs in the middle, investors, workers, consumers. So understanding where people within key pillars fall. Are they actively or passively supporting authoritarian practices? Are they on the fence? Are they on our side? So understanding this is key to designing campaigns whose goal it is to shift their incentives. Now, the Freedom Trainers group that Ash and I are part of are very focused on developing the skills for how to move and pressure these pillars to bring them, pull them away from supporting authoritarian regimes and towards supporting our pro-democracy movement. But just to say, it's not all protests that move people within these pillars. We know from the research that basic organizing and outreach to members of these pillars is key to getting them to shift their loyalties. Next slide. And we know that targeted pressure on these pillars can be very effective. The Tesla takedown is one of the most powerful consumer boycotts in recent memory, involving not only protests at Tesla stores, social pressure to not buy Tesla, and targeting of pension funds. Tesla's shareholder value has plummeted, and the company has become toxic. And I would just note on June 28th, so coming up, there is a
Musk Must Fall global day of celebration to move us to the next level of this non-cooperation campaign. And folks can learn more about that at the TeslaTakedown.com address. Meanwhile, a Lenten fast of Target over its anti-DEI policies, launched by Black faith leaders, has turned into an indefinite boycott, costing the company billions. Not only that, there has been a boycott calling on people to invest in Black-owned businesses. Target parking lots have been sites of communities coming together in mutual aid and solidarity, because it's not just about saying no, it's about loudly saying yes to the alternatives. And this is also the approach that an organization we love, Free DC, is taking. So Free DC is organizing neighborhood by neighborhood and training thousands in organized non-compliance and joyful defiance. And I've also got a tip in this spirit of consumer boycotts, that tomorrow a campaign is being launched targeting T-Mobile for its support of Musk's Starlink. And so just stay tuned. That'll be another way to get actively involved in your communities. Next slide. So we also know that communities are actively not cooperating with ICE. This is being led by our friends in LA, by immigrant rights groups, by faith leaders, restaurant owners, and others across the country. SEIU and the labor movement has shown tremendous leadership, and the assault and detention of David Huerta has backfired. Meanwhile, communities in New Haven, Connecticut, and other cities across the country are putting targeted pressure on Avelo Airlines, which has a contract with ICE to run deportation flights. The city council in New Haven cut out transportation subsidies to Avelo in the latest budget, a huge success due to collective community action. And I would say in this moment, targeting the enablers of ICE repression, which this map shows where all the contracts are across the country, this opens up huge avenues for strategic campaigns, including in red parts of the country. Next slide. Meanwhile, another pillar. We love the story of Sarah Inama, the Idaho teacher and AFT member who refused to take down the "Everyone is Welcome Here" sign. The community backed her up. Small businesses printed thousands of t-shirts in support, and the story went viral, because indeed courage is contagious. Next slide. Speaking of courage, the community. Ooh, I'd love to play that video if we had a few more minutes. Next time. So speaking of courage is contagious, we remember the Episcopal Bishop, Marion Buddy, who spoke truth to power during the inaugural prayer service, received death threats for doing so, and inspired solidarity across the country. And Reverend Barbara powerfully reminded us that Trump won't be king unless we bow. Meanwhile, faith leaders across the country have taken to the streets to denounce the immorality of the big, beautiful budget. And I would say on June 23rd, Interfaith Alliance will be hosting a webinar called "The Faithful Fight: Your Tools for Countering Authoritarianism," which gets into what faith communities can do in this moment. Next slide. Coming to the end here, lots of non-cooperation is happening in red districts, with constituents furious about layoffs and cuts to critical services. Some were recently arrested, in fact, for civil disobedience outside GOP offices at the Capitol. So this represents a huge organizing opportunity for us as the circle of harm expands. Next slide. Just looking internationally, cases where people have effectively pushed back against authoritarianism in places like Poland and South Korea. What was key in both of these places was organized acts of non-cooperation by key pillars. In Poland, it was the lawyers and the judges who didn't just litigate, they took to the streets in their black robes to protest attacks on the judiciary. Meanwhile, the trade unions in South Korea organized strikes when their president called for martial law and attempted a coup. Powerful acts of non-cooperation that were key to stemming the tide of democratic backsliding. Final slide, just to conclude. So yes, I've spent years studying how popular movements have pushed back against authoritarianism around the world. And some of the things that we know from this research is that being able to sustain large and diverse participation and keeping the momentum going, which we'll be talking about on this call, is key to success. And no regime has maintained power when 3.5% of the population has engaged in active protest. Meanwhile, expanding the repertoire of nonviolent tactics, going from the protests and the marches to organized non-cooperation and collective stubbornness is key to success. Being able to bring about loyalty shifts and defections and key pillars of support is key. And being able to maintain discipline in the face of provocations, violence, and repression, and making that repression backfire is key to success. So with that, let me turn it back over to you, Ash.
Y'all didn't know you were going to not only get a debrief of what went down, but you were also going to get some political education on the way to what we need to keep doing. Maria, thank you for educating us with the expectation that we be accountable to continuing to take that new knowledge and doing something with it to save our democracy. We appreciate all of your work. Thank you for being on with us tonight. Y'all are blowing me up online. I should have been more intentional when I told you to use the hashtag, because now you're talking to me and I love it. I want to remind you of a couple things, and I want to answer a couple of questions. One, I want you to remember to look at the chat and the comments in the chat, because we are dropping links for some of the incredible information that our speakers are sharing and some information about the calls to action that they're sharing. So you can see just while Maria was speaking that we now have a link to our incredible homies with Tesla Takedown. Y'all, I'm excited to get some folks to leave T-Mobile and go to a union shop if they don't refuse to continue working with Starlink and putting money in the hands of a billionaire that buys elections. So I want you to make sure that you check out Tesla Takedown and sign up for updates. I want you to check out Freedom Trainers, not just because me and Maria are amazing and we want to be in relationship with you, but because we need to train millions of people on how to not cooperate and not comply and make sure that we do what we need to do to resist this authoritarian consolidation of power. And then check out Faithful Fight, your tools for countering authoritarianism. All of those links are in the comments and chat, and we'll be sure to send them with the recording, because we promise we want to make sure that you continue to be engaged. Y'all, there's a competition happening on Blue Sky. Folks are like, hey, well, I can beat the 89-year-old mother because my 95-year-old mother stood in the rain for 3 hours at what was it? The protest in Montclair, and sang freedom songs, sang protest songs, that there were 9,000 people strong, and that 95-year-old mother is on this call. We see you. Thank you for being here. We love you. Thank you so much. We're also getting a lot of questions about that incredible song that was in the video that we played at the start. We're going to make sure that you've got access to it by sending you all the links to the song on Apple Music and Spotify. We got you. We love you. Now let's keep it pushing for the sake of time, y'all. I still got some incredible speakers that I want you to hear from. Thank you again to Maria. Y'all show Maria and the Horizons Project some love. You heard from Maria about where we're at and what comes next. But you're probably wondering, how do we actually make that concrete, right? How do I fit into that? What meaningful work can I do? And that's actually what the entire rest of our call is about. You're going to hear from movement partners across this incredibly diverse coalition of folks to talk about ways that you can plug in from right where you are. But first, I want to give a little bit of context to this. There are two core ways to think about our work ahead. First, there's a question of what are the immediate, concrete things that we can do to push back against authoritarianism right now, right? How do we block it? So again, the first question is, what are immediate, concrete things that we can do to push back against authoritarianism right now? The second, in addition, not opposed or not separate from, but in addition to, is the mandate. How are we building power for the long haul, right? Y'all know from previous mass calls that our framework is blocking and building. And as you're hearing from the folks next up, ask yourself, how can I work at both of these levels at the same time? How can I push back against authoritarianism right now, today, in my life and in our community? And at the same time, how can I make sure not to lose sight of the future? And how are we coming together to build power for the long haul? So with that in mind, I'm now going to be joined by a group of folks representing action across our movement to share about how we can thread this work together going forward. I want you to welcome Barbara Arnwine and Daryl Jones, Izzy Bronstein, and Tom Bells to the panel. To start us off, I'm going to hand it to my shero, Barbara Arnwine, and Daryl Jones of the Transformative Justice Coalition to talk about one of the next protests that are coming up that we should be preparing for as an example of how we can block and build at the same time. Miss Barbara and Daryl, I will toss it to you.
Thank you, Ashley. And listen, we want to say to everybody who's on this call, to everyone across the country, congratulations. Saturday was just magnificent. That's all we can say. People showed up, they showed out, they did everything that was necessary, and the world heard you. If anybody thinks that we're being silent here in the US, they certainly don't know that we are loud right now. We're roaring in these streets. We're not going to stop. And that's what we want to talk about is what's next. You know, on Saturday, I had the joy of standing there in Chicago at Daley Plaza and addressing those tens of thousands of people who came out and were not to be deterred. And I wore my No Kings button and my Make Good Trouble John Lewis button because it's a united front. It's a united fight. And we all are in it. And it was a pleasure to march with Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson, who was in his wheelchair, everybody, at 84, with fighting the disease that he's fighting. But he was out there in those streets and people loved it because we never stop. We keep on fighting. So where do we go from here? It's a famous line from a Dr. King speech. And where we go from here is July the 17th. Good trouble. Good trouble. We're going to make good trouble because good trouble lives on. And we will not stop until we win this fight. No kings, no tyrants, no despots. And we got to always have good trouble. So we are determined that on July 17th, we're asking all of you to turn out, each and every one of you. Host events in your city. Go to, our new website, and I'm going to talk about that in a moment. And if you don't see an event there, we want you to host one. Turn up, turn out, do what we do. And we want to make sure that we have the largest, the greatest possible number of people in the streets. We're going to center three things. We're going to center racial justice, because this country, it'll never be right until it's racially just. And that's our fight to make it so. We will talk about, we're going to center voting rights for all, because voter suppression has no right to be in this country. We're going to talk about centering the fight, our continued and united fight for a just, inclusive, and strong democracy. That is our goal. That is our obligation in these times. So we ask you to host these events. We ask you to attend. You can go to our new website. Thank you, Sarah of Indivisible, for your great creation. Thank you, Christine Wood, for putting together this website. You can go to the website, goodtroubleliveson.org. goodtroubleliveson.org. You can also go to Mobilize, to our Mobilize link, where you can post events, and also No Kings. You can find out ways to be involved. We want to tell you that you can also join us on Wednesday, June 18th at 7:00 p.m. for a national mobilization call. And we're going to be talking about how we make this all happen. Never forget, everybody, that in our battle, our unity is our victory. That's how we take down tyrants. That's how we prevail. That's how we kill autocracy. That's how we move forward in these times. United, we will never be defeated. I turn it over to my great co-leader, Daryl Jones. Hey, Daryl.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you so much. Good trouble does live on. we named July 17th John Lewis Day because that's the day that John Lewis passed away. But John Lewis's family, who has sanctioned this John Lewis Day that we're presenting and we're mobilizing on, they ask that we continue it, but don't do it in the name of feeling sad that he has gone. Do it in the name of his legacy of picking up the baton and moving forward. So that's what we're doing. That's what Good Trouble Lives On is all about. We invite you on June 18th at 7 p.m. to come and join us as we have the host call to prepare for the July 17th actions. In John Lewis's book, Across That Bridge, he talks about faith, and it's something that we could use today because he said you've got to have as much faith as you have that today is Monday, is the amount of faith you've got to have in believing that democracy is worth saving. We ask that you come and join us on June the 18th at 7 p.m. for this planning meeting. And I tell you, I salute you, we take our hats off. Because when you take up the baton of fighting for democracy, you don't do it for one day or for one protest. It's a continual thing that you will ever, forever do throughout eternity. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you on June the 18th.
I'm trying to be in the room where it happened on June 18th. I'm trying to be there. All right, Ashley. I need every single one of you on this call to go on and click that mobilize link. I need you to make sure that you get that goodtroubleliveson.org website and post it everywhere because the work continues, y'all. I got to share this personal story before we move. When y'all know, some of y'all know, I used to run the Highlander Center with my colleagues there, and white supremacists burned our office down in 2019. And John Lewis wrote a letter telling us to continue making good trouble. And I take that very seriously. So if, I have to be accountable to my guy and to these incredible leaders from the Transformative Justice Coalition that are calling us into accountability to make that legacy stand in the 21st century sense. Y'all, it's our turn. So I can't wait to make some good trouble with y'all. And I can't wait to see y'all making good trouble together with us. Y'all, I got to shout out some more people because folks are in the chat. We are intergenerational on the call tonight. Ellen is on with her 8-year-old son who made his sign that he took to the protest in Hingham, Massachusetts. So shout out to Ellen and the 8-year-old. We see you. We appreciate you. Jen's 89-year-old mother is here and on the Zoom and was in her protest. So we see you. Thank you all for being here. I need you to hit the hashtag No Kings and let me know that you've signed up to be in the planning meeting. I need you to hit me with hashtag No Kings because you've decided that you're going to step into courage and host a day of good trouble with the Transformative Justice Coalition and all of our partners here on the call tonight. So make sure you're spreading the word that you are the answer, in fact, to the question of what happens after the mass mobilization of No Kings. You, my friends, are the answer to the question of what's next. So, I told you, I got the best and the brightest on this call. And next, I get to tell you what you get to keep an eye on in terms of what we can do to be pushing back against authoritarianism right now. I'm so excited to welcome Izzy Bronstein from Common Cause to give us a good word about what we could be doing next. Go ahead, Izzy.
Thank you so much, Ashley. It's always so hard to follow Barbara and to do it again, but here we are. Every time. But absolutely, so thrilled to be here with all of you tonight. I have never felt energy like this, like we felt on Saturday, like we're feeling today. This weekend, I marched alongside millions of y'all across the country. And when we take to the streets, we make visible what those in power would rather us ignore. We all know Donald Trump's agenda is divisive, it's harmful, and as we all have just proved, deeply unpopular. That's how we raise the alarm. We show the size and the urgency of our resistance. But the power of that protest is only really realized when we follow it up with our action. Phone calls, emails, public comments, bold demands of the people that we send to Washington, D.C. and our state capitals to fight for us. So that's how we're going to translate this powerful moment into a lasting movement that delivers our safety, our dignity, and the prosperity for all of our communities and our families. The threats that we're facing, we all know, are insurmountable. We got federal agents abducting our friends, our neighbors from their homes, their workplaces. Politicians are trying to slash the social safety net and healthcare to pay for billionaire tax cuts. And a would-be king in the White House thinks their democracy is just like an inconvenient obstacle that's getting in his way. But there's a light at the end of this tunnel. And the only way for us to get there is one step at a time. So this week, in the next week, I'm asking each and every one of you to take one concrete action. Just one, to show our lawmakers that they can't wait us out. And the millions of folks who showed up on Saturday are going to keep showing up in that sustained civic action that Maria was talking about. This is where we come in. A wave of messages to Congress today shows them we're watching. And we're not letting all of their slide under the radar. The biggest issue before Congress right now is Trump's billionaire budget bill. It'll make ordinary people so much worse off so his rich donors and cronies can get a tax break. We're going to fight back with that energy y'all showed on Saturday. We're going to ask each of you to call your representatives, write a letter to your local paper, or join a phone bank to call voters and activate them to do the same. One of those three. Write a letter to the editor, call your representative, or join a phone bank. We're dropping a link in the chat right now. You can send a message to your representative in less than 60 seconds. A phone bank will take you a couple hours, but the power you will have will be so impactful. This is how we're going to turn this public outrage into actual political consequence. Don't let this moment pass quietly. Please take an action with us today. This is just one way to get involved. If you go to nokings.org/next, you can find dozens and dozens of other ways to take that next step into this next week. I am so deeply inspired from what happened on Saturday. If you're on this call, you probably know that. You probably already understand that, millions of us marching has real power. We've all marched before. We've all protested before. What we saw on Saturday was different. But the true measure of whether protest is effective is what happens the days after. I went to the protest with my aunt, who's not the most political. And on the way back, she asked me if I thought that protests actually accomplish anything. And I told her, well, it depends. What are you going to do this week? What are you going to do tomorrow? And that's the question that I'm going to hold to myself this week. And I'm asking each and every one of you to hold. What are you going to do today? What are you going to do tomorrow? Thank you all so much for being with us. I'll pass it back over to Ashley.
I mean, Izzy just gave you a golden nugget of information, not only a call to action about how to be intentional about embodying the next step, what comes next, but also an easy one-stop shop for where you can consistently find re-upped calls to action and opportunities for you to get involved. And listen, I know some of the haters are going to say, oh, look, y'all couldn't come up with one call to action. Well, honey, we got a whole diverse community of people that got a whole bunch of needs. And guess what? We're committed to seeing every single one of them done. We're committed to seeing every single person at their comfort level and ability, being able to be a part of this movement. It's a low bar for entry and it's a high bar of meaningful work. And there's plenty of work to be done. And you're going to be able to find all of it concentrated in one place. And that's at www.nokings.org/next. So if you were one of those people that's like, hey, man, I heard a bunch of really smart people talking. I'm hyped. You got me hyped. Well done, Ash. Y'all got me excited. But I don't know what the hell you want me to do. I'm not stressed because guess what? I already told you we're going to send you the recording so you can watch this again. You can hear them tell you what to do. We're going to send you all of these links. But if you are a person that overachieves like myself and you want to see it now, you just can't wait. You got to see it right now. You want those links all in one place so you can be the first person to pitch it to your buddies, right? I get it. I'm that kid too. You can go right now to www.nokings.org/next. It's in the chat. It's in the comments. Y'all can be tweeting that out. You can be putting it on Blue Sky. You can be sending it to your group chats. Y'all can be signing up to be making good trouble with us. You can come to the planning meetings. You can sign up with WFP, with Working Families Power, and move on to do phone banks. I see y'all. I see the critics in my Blue Sky being like, well, I think the more strategic thing is to call our Congress people. Well, we already said we was gonna do that, friend. Come on in the room. Welcome. Come on and get on one of these phone banks with us. We would love it. Y'all, we've had thousands of people on the phone banks over the last several months. So come get in. Let's stop this big, bad, ugly bill from harming our people, right? You can get on the phone banks. You can come to the mass mobilizations. You can do the community gatherings. Y'all, we're going to put If you want to, I know you've been on some of the other mass calls. You can call your sheriff. You can quit your T-Mobile plan. You can sign petitions. You can send letters, y'all. We've got it. It's all on www.nokings.org/next. Because when our elders and ancestors said by any means necessary, they meant by all the means. So we are giving you a diversity of tactics that you can get in where you fit in this movement for no kings, no dictators, no tyrants, just democracy, just beloved community, y'all. This is our moment. Izzy, thank you for that golden reminder. I'm so grateful for you and the Common Cause family. Thank you for being here. Y'all, this isn't a moment. This is a movement. So let's be about it. I have the esteemed privilege of getting us into a space of talking about what I mentioned before. We've got to not just block this authoritarian wannabe dictator, this wannabe king. We also have to build power for the long haul, right? This isn't easy. It's not drop in and drop out work. We've got to build pathways to skilling up ourselves and our communities and engaging more deeply to build collective power, right? We've got to do that if we're going to sustain this kind of energy, if we're going to win. And I believe that this is a call full of winners. We're trying to win. So let's build collective power. And to talk more about the ways that you can start doing that this very summer, I'm so excited to welcome up Tom Bales from the Indivisible crew. Tom, I'll toss it to you.
Thank you so much, Ashley and Barbara and Izzy and Daryl. I am just lucky to share this space with y'all. Hi, everyone. I want to close us out today by lifting up something that we should say over and over again. Everything that you have done to get us here matters. Whether you've marched or organized a rally or talked to your neighbors or volunteered or posted online or called your representatives, all of that is power and all of that is part of this moment. And that is the exciting part. Power grows when we build it with intention, when we bring it somewhere where it can deepen and connect and expand. And that is what an organizing home offers. It is a place where we move from moment to momentum, where we sharpen our skills, we grow our community, and we stay grounded in strategy over time. It's where we get to say, this is my movement, and I'm here to build it for the long haul. One opportunity to do that this summer is through 1 Million Rising. This is a national effort to train 1 million people on how to fight back against authoritarianism and build power that lasts. We are launching a full training series, not just to teach tactics, but to help people across the country find or build their organizing homes and to take the next steps they need to as leaders in their community. This is about creating a movement that does not just react. It is a movement that is grounded, that grows, and that is built to win together. And we are not alone in doing this, y'all. This is the work of many, many groups. This is a collective push. Our partners in this movement are offering powerful organizing homes of their own. The League of Conservation Voters is connecting people to a home with their 32 state network affiliates. The ACLU is offering a home focused on relational power and persuasion. 5051 is offering a home, running a civic resistance crash course, and Indivisible is helping people find and join local groups that are ready to defend democracy. Each of these organizations is creating space for people to plug in, to build community, and to organize around the issues that they care about the most, from democracy and climate to immigration and racial justice and education and beyond. No matter what your passion or experience level is, there is a place for you to plug in. You can explore all of these options, like my friends have said, and find your organizing home at nokings.org/next. I want you to say it with me out loud in your house right now, nokings.org/next. These are offering real homes for our movement work. These are places for you to grow your power and build community. These are places for you to help shape our big and broad strategy to defend and expand our democracy. These are spaces that honor all of the work that you have done, and it helps continue to flourish through long-term strategy and through connections. No matter your passion, no matter your skills or where you're starting from, there is a home for you in this work. You just have to choose it. So if you have been showing up, if you have been asking yourself how to go deeper, how to make this count for the long haul, this is your moment. Come train with us. Join a permanent organizing home and be a part of a force that is bigger than fear and louder than hate, and that's building every single day to build the future that all of us deserve. We are so Glad that you are here. Let's continue to work together. And where are you going to learn more? Say it with me out loud. nokings.org/next. Thank you all so much, and grateful to be in the space with you.
Tom, we love you. We love all of our Indivisible fam. Y'all are showing up and showing out on the call tonight. Tom gave a benediction. There really ain't much more to say, y'all. That was it. That was it right there. But I'm gonna steal that tactic. I want you to say it with me wherever you are. I want you to say the website with me. It is www.nokings.org/next. It needs to be everywhere. There's no seriousness to the question of what's next. We're next. It's us. We're going to come back to that. I got to shout out some more people before we close out this call. I know I've kept you for longer than an hour. Before I shout you out, can we just show some love to Barbara and Daryl, the Transformative Justice Coalition fam, to Izzy and all of our friends and fam from Common Cause, and to Tom and every single Indivisible member, every chapter, every one of you, all of our 5051, all the partners that are on the call tonight. Can we just show some love to all the brilliance that we've received from these leaders that continue to make sacrifices for us every single day? Just show them some love. We love you. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight. I get to shout out that Science Goddess just told me that she's going in the other intergenerational direction by telling me that her 2-year-old grandson experienced his first protest on Saturday. So we had everybody from 2-year-olds to 95-year-olds, and probably younger and older than even that, y'all. We are an intergenerational movement. Y'all, if you actually signed up for something already, I want you to tell me what you signed up for. If you signed up to make good trouble, if you signed up to phone bank or send letters, if you signed up, got some more information from Tesla Takedown, if you got the Faithful Fight link and have clicked into it and you're looking into it and studying it and want to plan moving forward to talk about it with your friends, if you just got the What's Next website and you're going to share it out, I want you to tell me what your commitment is leaving this sacred space that we've created together tonight. Because again, the point wasn't just to help us be smarter people. The point was for us to take this knowledge that we've got, this debrief of what we just experienced, the history, the herstory, the we-story we just made, but to celebrate that, to acknowledge the hard, right? To make sure that we support the people that have been impacted by the violence that came our way and still stood in the face of fear with courageousness, right? That's what we did. And this is our opportunity to say, we actually still have more to do. That mass mobilizations are awesome, but there is organizing, there is non-compliance, there is more direct action, there is political education, there is advocacy, there is direct service, there is mutual aid. There are so many other tactical interventions that must be made for us to stop this wannabe dictator and his cronies and the oligarchy billionaire class from destroying our country and probably destroying the world with it. Right? This is our time. So I'm going to sum up this call. We're going to do a little closeout of the lineup tonight by recapping. I want you to remember that you and your community can do things in your daily life to push back against authoritarianism starting right now. You don't have to wait. You can go to www.nokings.org/next and continue to walk in your journey of being on the proper side of history, the one that again is building beloved community and bending the moral arc of the universe towards justice, as Dr. King would say. This is your opportunity to push back, to block authoritarianism right now, and to work together to build power for the long haul, y'all. This is an opportunity for you to find your organizing home, whether it's here with one of the orgs that was represented tonight, with your local group, with a faith community, anybody, anyway. This is our time to come together across our differences to be the biggest we, to define who we are and who we are becoming as a country, as communities all across this country. This is our time. We get to define what the new America is. It is you, it is me, it is us together. And it's going to take every single one of us together making that work happen. So again, I want you to tell me what you're committed to doing. by sending it out on socials and hashtagging it No Kings. And as you do it, I want you to keep using the hashtag so we can keep celebrating and seeing each other in community and learning from each other, being inspired by each other, and remembering that we are not alone in this work. We don't want to be, and we don't have to be. In fact, we are the majority. This minority rule will end because the majority of us will stand on the side of what's good and right, and not on the side of what is harmful and evil. Y'all, I cannot wait to see you at the next trainings, the prep calls, the phone banks, and in the streets. Thank you for not regarding it robbery to be here with us tonight. I see y'all showing love in the chat. Thank you to every single one of our speakers. Thank you to the back of house folks. Thanks to everybody who sent emails and links and did outreach and made sure we could live stream. We love you. Thanks for every single one of you for being at the protest on Saturday. For the folks that wanted to be and couldn't be that made time for this call, we see you. We thank you. If you're watching on Zoom or YouTube or one of the live streams, we see you, we respect you, and we want you to be free. Y'all, thank you, and have an incredible night. We'll see you next time.
Okay.
Recording stopped.
All right. That's the end of the No Kings debrief call. Now, we have another call to do tonight, okay? That was part 1 of our double feature infiltration, and now we're done that. And, you know, next up, we're going to be going into something else. But I just want to have a little conversation with you guys before we do this. Okay. Because, listen, I made the rules of the chat pretty lax tonight. There's a lot of new people on the channel, and we love new people on the channel. And there was a lot of shit posting and owning the libs in the chat. And you guys know how I love more than anything shit posting and owning the libs in my chat. But you know what? I'm allowing it because there's a lot of new people here. And I understand that the person on the screen looks real funny. And so you want to make fun of them. And so I understand that. And so it's fine. Every once in a while, it's fine. But I want to give people a really big reality check about what we're dealing with here. And I'm also running a program, hopefully to free up some performance on my computer. So I stop running like this. And we're just going to do that. And I might look a little cluttery, but that's okay. That's all right. You guys can hear me okay. And that's really all that matters. Just freeing up some RAM on my computer right now. Okay. So what they were talking about on this call is, first of all, conservative media is flat out lying when they say that Saturday's protests were a failure. Saturday's protests weren't big. I saw people in the chat going, it was only old women. And no, I'm sorry. That's just not true, guys. That's just not true. I was in Boston. I saw the crowd in Boston. I saw who was there. Were there old women there? Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah, there are old women there. There were a lot of old hippies there. It is absolutely true that there are a lot of old hippie socialists. Okay. That is very, very true. Why is my computer still running like shit? Makes no sense. Just because there are old hippies there doesn't mean there weren't also a metric ton of young people there. Because there were. And I can look at videos from cities all over the country, not just blue cities where there was a massive, massive, massive turnout in blue cities. I can also look at red areas. I can look at cities in Texas. I can look at cities in North Carolina. I can look at cities in the Midwest. I can look at Boise, Idaho. Boise, Idaho had a massive turnout for Boise, Idaho. I heard from people all over the country that were in red areas that had many more people turning out in those areas than people expected. So what happened on Saturday? The right might, and listen, I thought there was going to be more violence on Saturday. I did. I'm still a little confused about why there wasn't. Which will make itself clear, to be honest with you. Like, it'll become clear why there wasn't more violence on Saturday at some point. But the amount that conservative media and pundits are just completely diminishing what happened on Saturday, and they're doing it for political reasons, they're doing it to drive a narrative. This should infuriate everyone because the protests on Saturday were massive. They were highly effective. They were highly energizing to the crowd. The right might think that the No Kings thing is stupid. And yeah, I personally think the No Kings thing was stupid. But I also was at one of the events in a major blue city. I saw the crowd. I saw how many people were energized by it. I saw how many people like that slogan. Just because we don't personally like something doesn't mean it's not activating for a group of people. I would also say that we heard them say that directly on the call, that they are trying to activate on a consistent basis 5% of the country, 3 to 5% of the country. Based on the numbers they had on Saturday, they are halfway to their goal. And this only gains momentum. This only gets bigger. This is not going to get smaller. This only gets bigger. Okay. And so what they're doing now is they're trying to capitalize on the massive, massive, massive turnout that they had on Saturday to make sure every single person that came out on Saturday, especially for the people who came out the first time, every single person that came out on Saturday, they're giving them opportunities to re-engage, to get back involved. Hey, didn't you have fun with us coming out on Saturday? We had this great time. We had this great protest. Yeah, we had that thing happen in Minnesota. We don't want to talk about that. But like, we had a great time on Saturday. Everyone had fun. Everyone felt energized. They felt good. The left feels great right now. I want to look at this website because this is the website that they sent out for what's next. They had an entire plan. Really think about this, guys. They had an entire plan ready to go to launch 2 days after this to give people all these avenues into getting involved. Had the whole website set up. So next up, they've got Indivisible here. They've got outreach to Congress. All these different people can get involved in phone banks. We heard about this June 26th protest last week. They're pushing that. Here is their next protest. Their next protest is going to be good trouble. So it kind of sounds like BLM is back to me, because it seems like the next lead organizer for the protest is going to be very racial justice related. So guess what? BLM is back. BLM hasn't been around for a long time. And maybe they won't even call it BLM. Chances are they will not actually call it BLM, because there is toxicity associated with that name. But that doesn't mean they aren't going to push the exact same ideas. BLM was not the only organization on the left pushing those ideas. So they've got that on the 17th. And now look at this, 1 Million Rising. 1 Million Rising is a national effort to train 1 million people to help lead in this movement and gain the skills to lead others. They are training 1 million people like them. I don't care if you think their ideas are stupid or not. I don't care if you make fun of the way they look. I don't care if you talk shit about their hair or the fact that that one woman has stupid eye makeup and only on one eye. The reality is their side is proactively trying to train 1 million activists to be permanently involved in leftist activism. Our side is shitposting about people's hair and weight and makeup and posting memes on the internet and making fun of them and underreporting what is happening because they don't want to be honest with their audiences about what is going on. I personally take the problem of the left very, very seriously. And it's okay to have fun and it's okay to joke, and that's fine. We need to allow for that. We can't be serious all the time, right? But if people think that this is a joke, just see what happens 1 month from now. I promise you, it's going to be even bigger. There are going to be even more people out, going to be even more excited. And it's not as though nothing is going to happen between now and then either. We're going to keep seeing the same old bullshit bubbling up the entire time. And we'll track all of it and we'll talk about all of it. But these people are not a joke. They are highly organized. You know, for the next month, we're going to hear from the right. It's going to be, this isn't organic. It's funded by the CCP. They're all paid protesters. It's not organic. They're all funded by the CCP. They're paid protesters. They don't have jobs. Where's the funding coming from? It's George Soros. They're paid protesters. It's not organic. This is what we're going to be hearing from the next month from conservative influencers. They're going to be complaining about the funding, the funding, the funding, the funding, the funding. By the way, the vast majority of people involved in these protests have no funding at all. I hope people understand that. That's all conservative bullshit narrative. It's not to say there's no funding. There is. But the vast majority of people involved do not have funding. That's just reality. And what is all that talk over the next month that we're going to get from conservative media going to give us? Absolutely nothing. Are they going to do anything about any of the funding? No. Conservatives never do anything about the funding. All they do is complain about the funding, and then they come into my comments and go, it's Soros, it's Soros, it's Soros, it's Soros, it's China, it's China, it's China, it's China, over and over and over and over and over again. And nothing ever happens and nothing ever changes. And guess what? Those groups that they found the funding for, they just keep operating. We're about to watch a CodePink organizing call when I get done ranting and doing some super chats. CodePink is absolutely 100% funded by the CCP. I know that. I've seen the primary source evidence. CodePink is 100% funded by the CCP. There were all these... Anna Paulina Luna last week went after CodePink in Congress. By name. Explicitly saying, we're going to pull all your funding, CodePink, and we're going to not allow you in Congress, CodePink. And Anna Paulina Luna attacked this organization directly. Do you know what CodePink did? They just kept doing exactly what they were going to do anyway, and it didn't. And it's not like they lost any money. They didn't lose any money at all. They have probably actually garnered more support on their own side because of that stunt. And nothing changed for them, and they're still doing exactly what they're doing today, which is what they would have done even if Anna Paulina Luna hadn't had her little hissy fit temper tantrum on Twitter. So the point I'm trying to make is, and this isn't even, look at this. They've got state affiliates getting set up. They've got a whole training series set up. Yes, we will stream those trainings. Don't worry about it. We're going to keep an eye on. Like, I cover the left when conservative media ignores all this shit. So we will be watching this stuff. They've got the ACLU doing stuff. They've got all these crash course. The 50-51 events are the ones that have been organizing the protests the entire time. They've got all these different things they're going to be doing. In that time, conservatives are going to be complaining about the funding, while doing absolutely nothing to stop them from organizing. And the left is just going to keep doing exactly what they've been doing for months. And the protests are going to get bigger. And Antifa is going to show up and try to take advantage. And the Party for Socialism and Liberation is going to show up and try to take advantage. And the Revolutionary Communists of America are going to show up and try to take advantage. And the Democratic Socialists of America are going to show up and try to take advantage. By the way, the Socialism Conference is in Chicago in like 2 weeks. There's going to be a mass gathering of socialists in Chicago on 4th of July weekend. Everyone knows this, right? So I'm sure nothing will come out of that little gathering. So I hope people take this seriously. It's fine to joke. It's fine to blow off some steam. But I really do hope people take this seriously, because there is nothing slowing down this momentum. It is what it is, guys. And I hope someone with more power and more influence than me starts paying attention to this stuff. But I have my doubts. Hey, Mac B, thank you for being a member of the channel. Mac B, I'm accidentally postponing your movie night. Is this okay, Mac B? Are you okay with this? I'm sorry. I didn't even think of it when I decided to do this. Conservatives are continuing helping the left push us off a cliff. That's exactly right. And guys, conservative media has to get their ass in gear. People have got to start pinging them and harassing them. Listen, conservative media has blocked me and many members of my community because we tried to get them to actually do something about it, and they didn't like that. So we can't. We don't have access. You're cool. All right, Mac B, I appreciate you. Thank you. I have a couple other super chats that came in while I was streaming. Yeah, she had a crazy eyebrow. Thank you, I'm Jack, for that. Is that symbol on his shirt part of their movement or something? I'm not exactly sure, Coaster Track, but I do appreciate the super chat. I don't know how to answer that question though. So is she a you're talking about Jayapal. So is she a socialist sitting in a Democrat progressive position, or is that a progressive? Guys, the people that are organizing these protests are progressives. They're not revolutionary socialists. These are progressives. If you have questions about the difference between progressive and socialist, go to decodetheleft.com/map. You can find an explanation there. Yep, minions, come on, we're voters. Exactly. Thank you for that. Had a couple other questions. Do socialists work well with progressives, or do socialists exploit them? Socialists will work with them when they can exploit them, but make no mistake, they're not friends. At least not from the socialist perspective. They just want to exploit the situation. That's a great question. Amy asked, is there a way to make state groups to counter this? I'm super frustrated. How do I find local people? Amy, I guess you could make state groups if you wanted to. I don't think it's going to counter this, though. I think the only way to counter this is people have to learn as much as they can about the left, and I think and they have to go out and teach other people in their community. I don't think there's enough time to organize state level groups on this. I would maybe recommend your local GOP. That might be a good place to start. Can we do this in our community also? Well, I mean, you can give it a try, Debbie. Listen, I've tried organizing the right. The right doesn't like to do this stuff. It is near impossible. But Debbie, maybe you have some magic that I don't have. So give it a try, girl. Give it a try. Organize. Never hurts to try. Anyway, let's go into our double feature, shall we? Let's go over to CodePink's YouTube channel. And they might actually still be streaming this, but I have to reload and see. Nope, they're done. Okay, so tonight, and we were very lucky that CodePink was streaming this. They ended 32 minutes ago. We were going to do a spy stream for this, and it happened to be at exactly the same time as the No Kings organizing meeting. Will I be hosting a space on X anytime soon? I usually don't plan X spaces in advance when I do them. So just follow me on X and, turn on notifications, and you never know when I might host an X space. If I do host X spaces, they're typically late at night. So, just keep an eye out, I guess. So we actually started spy streaming this last week. CodePink is hosting, or 2 weeks ago rather, CodePink is hosting a feminist resisting fascism summer school. And tonight the speaker was the founder of CodePink, who, again, has been in the news in the last week because Anna Paulina Luna decided to have a hissy fit about CodePink in Congress. And so we were very lucky they recorded it and streamed it on their YouTube channel, because now we get to have a double feature and we didn't have to choose one or the other. We can actually watch both. So I want to move into our CodePink presentation. Guys, if you appreciate the work I'm doing, just a reminder to mount the like button for me. Mounting the like button lets YouTube know to recommend my channel to more people. Keeps me out of the shadow ban. I really do appreciate it. Make sure you are subscribed to my channel if you are not already. You can head over to my Substack. Make sure you're subscribed there. And of course, let's hit our super chat goal. We only got 28 bucks to the super chat goal. So let's hit the super chat goal. I'm completely independently funded by you guys. You guys are the ones that allow me to do this stuff. And let's see what happened with CodePink tonight. And listen, because this one is on demand, I won't have to just sit here and be quiet the whole time. So it'll be good for us too. So we can all watch this together and find out what this commie organization had to say. And this is hot off the presses, guys. This just ended like half hour ago. They only raised $16. How sad for them.
Welcome in, folks.
So I want people to keep in mind, this is the organization that Anna Paulina Luna thinks is the... This is actually kind of funny, okay? I don't usually watch that much CodePink because CodePink is kind of a shit show of an organization. They're really weird. They pull these stunts where they yell at people in hearings in Congress, and they do die-ins sometimes. But honestly, they're a really weird organization, and they don't actually have that much impact, but they rile people up really. So it's just kind of funny. You guys are going to see, this is actually, CodePink is actually a shit show, and this is the thing that Anna Paulina Luna thinks is the great mastermind behind all these protests. It's just not true, guys. I'm sorry. Hey, thanks, Grandma Nay. I appreciate it. Thanks, LK. Appreciate you. So let's see the great masterminds behind this whole thing.
folks. We're going to give it 1 minute just to let people in, and then we'll get started. Feel free to drop in the chat where you're calling from, if you made it to our first session, maybe some questions you already have ready to go. But we'll get started in 1 minute.
Yeah, I met her once too. I met her in Tampa. She's a nice enough person, but not very smart, sadly. This was live earlier tonight.
Ooh, a lot of San Diego people here tonight. Awesome.
Ooh.
St. Louis. Exciting. California, always, always. North Carolina.
Lots of white people on this call. Lots of older hippies too.
Okay, great.
CodePink is the old hippie organization. Hey,
Kick
thanks,
things
Louise.
off. Thank you all so much for coming.
Appreciate you
My
becoming a
name,
member of the
again,
channel.
is
Thank
Grace
you.
Siegelman. I'm CodePink's engagement manager. I am so honored and so lucky to be co-hosting our Feminist Resisting Fascism Summer School series. This is part 2 of our 6-part political education series designed to equip participants with historical context, analytical tools, transnational strategies needed to confront fascist ideologies and build a movement for a just, liberated future. We're using our ever-changing, ever-evolving feminist lenses for this series to explore how imperialism, militarism, propaganda, and economic exploitation fuels authoritarian movements, and how collective action and global solidarity can dismantle them. First, I'm going to pass it to my lovely, amazing co-host Noor to go over the norms, and then we will pass it over to CodePink co-founder Jody Evans to introduce our guests and our sessions, and then we're going to have an awesome Q&A afterwards. So if you have questions during our sessions, please drop them in the chat. We'll try to get to them later. But first, I will pass it over.
Hang on, we got a super chat here. I found your channel a few days ago and can't wait to dive into the wealth of information you have to present. Thanks for all you do. Hey, I do appreciate that. Welcome to all the newbies who found my channel in the last week. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys.
Thank you, Grace. Like Grace said, my name is Noor. I'm CodePink's National Palestine Campaign Organizer. If you all want to continue to introduce yourselves in the chat, your name, the city you're calling in from, state, country, you can be as vague as you want. And throughout this session, though, please remember our norms. The first one is to please be respectful. This isn't a debate, it's a discussion, and we're not here to mediate arguments. We're here to learn and take action for Palestine, the people, and the planet. And of course, be kind, be curious. And please, this one is very important. Please stay muted. We record and live stream these classes, so we like to keep disruptions at a minimum. And with that, I'll pass it to Jody to introduce tonight's session.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone, in these very, hard days. So I was thinking how to frame today, and women feed the world while militaries starve it of resources. And the Pentagon's budget is a declaration of war on every social program that could actually keep us safe. And also, every military base abroad is a colonial outpost. Every police station at home is an occupying force. So this session unpacks how current US military strategies, surveillance, and domestic policing uphold systems of white supremacy and gendered violence. We're going to explore how feminist resistance can disrupt these patterns of state violence. As we examine the devastating reach of US militarism today, devastating. I'm thrilled to have a relentless truth teller, the co-founder of CodePink, my amazing, courageous, and brilliant partner in peace, Medea Benjamin, who since the illegal 2003 invasion of Iraq, a defining act of US imperialism, has stood on the front lines of resistance, from war zones to diplomatic halls, exposing the human and geopolitical costs of endless war. From Palestine to China, Ukraine to the Congo, we'll explore how sanctions.
Guys, it does keep blinking and it's on their end. I can't do anything about it. It's not me, it's them. I'm sorry.
Hybrid war, and global surveillance reinforce US power, and how these policies impact people both globally and at home. We'll also connect militarism to climate change, mass incarceration, and America First nationalism, including tariff wars. Together, we'll impact the real cost of US imperialism in a rapidly shaping world.
Hang on. I just want to do a quick pause to address Rick's. It's so much nicer when we can pause presentations. Listen, I know people like watching the live presentation because it's like it feels like scandalous that we're watching it live, right? But it's so much nicer to be able to pause and just like take a beat. Crip Rick says, I'm still very new to all this and I've been watching many of the videos on here. It's very overwhelming for a newbie. I just want to acknowledge this because when people find my content, it is very overwhelming. And I don't want you to feel like you're alone in that. Remember, I learned all this stuff live on the internet, right? So like I had a couple really rough years on the internet where I was very angry and I cried a lot and I yelled at people a lot, and I still yell at people sometimes, but like it's partially because like I was learning an overwhelming amount of information live on the internet, and you have feelings when that happens. And there have been many people in my chat that have been with me for years, and they can all tell you they've all been through the overwhelming part of the process. There is no way to learn this stuff without being completely and totally overwhelmed with how insane things actually are. And I know that might sound scary for people, and it is scary to be honest, but the thing of it is like, do you want to know the truth? Do you want, because there's no magic here, guys. There really isn't. I know where to find their trainings. I show you their trainings that I find online. I know where to look for them. This is the truth. This is the reality. And it's kind of like, do you want to know what reality is and maybe be a little bit terrified and maybe, quite frankly, a little bit pissed off that no one ever showed you this before? Or do you want to stick your head in the sand? There are a lot of people on the right who are very, very comfortable sticking their head in the sand. There are a lot of people who think that they oppose the left, but they don't even really know what the left is because they've stuck their head in the sand. Sticking your head in the sand is a much nicer place to be. It's quieter. It's kind of like when like people think they take the red pill when they wake up to the fact that the media has lied to them. No. That's not the red pill. There are like 15 more red pills that you take, and then you end up here. And then eventually you take the ultimate red pill, which is the JQ, which we're not going to talk about because I'm on YouTube. Get through 100 hours of Karlyn's content and you'll be in a better place. Once you get over the anger towards all of your previously influencers and other sources of information. Yeah. You know, Sean, I don't discourage this. I think, listen, some people are sober, and congratulations if you're sober. I am not sober. I would not be able to do this if it was not for the help of weed. And I'm not even joking about that. Like, weed makes this easier. Booze, if you indulge in moderation, makes this easier. It just does. You have to be the best decider of what you put in your body and what you do for you. But I will say there are ways to make this easier. And more fun and more enjoyable for everyone, and it is what it is. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, you're in exactly the same place that everyone who has ever come before you has been. We are here for you. You can lean on us in the chat. We will help you and all that stuff. Let's see. I got a super chat. Thanks, Bob Paul. Left's call conservative fascists. Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
They call it defense spending, but the only thing it defends is inequality. And after Medea, we look forward to your questions. So take note. We'll be ready to help you afterwards. Medea,
hang on. Are there feminist socialists? They sound like they're against the military. So yeah, I mean, these are feminist socialists, but there's all sorts of different types of feminist socialists. So these are like, why I think it's so funny that the right is so teed off about CodePink is that CodePink are the dirty hippies. They're hippies. They're like anti-war hippies. They're not even current socialist feminists because current socialist feminists would not consider these women to be real feminists. So it's like these aren't even the most effective people on the left, honestly.
Get away.
Thank you, Jody, and great to be on with all of you. I love the framing of this, but I do want to take a bit of exception to this idea that women feed the world. Women should be feeding the world. Women should be the nurturing ones, but we know that's not always the case. And so when we talk about feminism, we're not necessarily talking about women that we've had in leadership positions. And I just want to give 3 examples. It might be very obvious, but important for us to remember. The first one let's take is Madeleine Albright. When she, in 1993, was advocating for U.S. to get involved militarily in Bosnia, when she was Secretary of State, she infamously said, what's the point of having this superb, big, beautiful military that you're always talking about if we can't
example.
use it?
Jane Fonda.
And this is the same woman who once said that the death of 500,000 Iraqi children due to U.S. sanctions was, quote, worth it. The second example is Hillary Clinton, who was always a hawk, going back to when she was a senator in 2002 and voted for the Iraq War, which she tried to push back afterwards, but the vote was there. And when she was Secretary of State, she was a total hawk, including being the one to push for regime change in Libya.
Appreciate it.
And then we have Kamala Harris, who failed to distance herself from Bush's horrific support for the Israeli slaughter in Gaza. She also boasted about the US having the most wonderful, lethal military force in the world and campaigned along the torture advocate Liz Cheney while touting the endorsement of her father, the war on terror architect Dick Cheney. I say that because women sometimes feel that it's necessary to compensate for being women by showing how tough they are when it comes to, quote, national security. And yet the men feel that they can put themselves forward as peacemakers, even if it's a big lie. We see this in the case of Donald Trump, who, when he ran the first time around, leaned into an anti-war message. And yet we saw that when he was in power, how he was just the opposite of a peacemaker. But he came back again this time around with that same promotion of himself as a candidate of peace. And of course, we see in his short time in power, the second time, that this is a big lie. It's interesting to look back at Barack Obama, who did promote himself as a peace candidate and even said that he wanted to change the mindset that got us into wars. And yet when he got into power, he too fell into that very mindset. So what is it that leads all of these people, when they get into power, to go in and lean in and be part of militarism? How do we get to the point where we're spending now over $1 trillion of our budget on militarism, and where the Democrats and Republicans are falling over themselves to give even more money to the military, adding another $150 billion into that budget?
I just want to note here. Does this person seem like a dangerous person to you guys right now? And by the way, what she's saying is almost exactly what the Party for Socialism and Liberation says about the war stuff. I don't think she's coming across as dangerous. I just don't. CodePink is one of the least. I'm not even worried about these people. I'm not even. We're watching them because they're relevant in the news and stuff like that, and we should do our due diligence to make sure we know what's going on. But these are anti-war people. Do you want to know why Anna Paulina Luna is going at CodePink specifically, it's because Anna Paulina Luna wants to support the United States going to war with Iran on behalf of Israel. That's why. That's why. And so it's kind of like we're in a weird position. At least, I mean, listen, everyone has different positions in the community, and you're allowed to believe whatever you want to believe. And I don't really care. As long as you want to learn about the left and fight the left, I don't really care. But I think that a lot of people in my community are very anti-war, and a lot of my people in my community are not in favor of the United States going to war on behalf of Israel with Iran. I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think many people think it's a good idea. And I just want to point out that we are in an uncomfortable position on this issue with the left because we kind of sort of agree with them on some things, and that's a really uncomfortable position to be in. And I just want to acknowledge that. But that doesn't make us leftists. It just means that on this one issue, we happen to be in agreement. Okay? And it's just an uncomfortable thing, and it is what it is. Thank you, Bob Paul. Appreciate it. They started getting into the school systems after they took over higher education in like basically post World War II. They had basically taken over the school systems by the time Barack Obama got elected president. And I've talked about that in other videos. I've done outlines of that on my Substack if you want more information about that. I'm happy to talk about it another day too, but we're watching this right now.
At the same time, they are taking money away from the desperate needs of people and the planet. I think it's important to go back, if you haven't read, or reread if you have read, the 1961 President Eisenhower farewell address, because it is so prescient about what has happened to our country. When he talked about every gun that is made signifies a theft from those who hunger and are not fed. But today, that military-industrial complex is so much larger. The companies that produce these weapons of death are so much larger. The budget is so much more massive, and their influence is so much greater. So too is the connection between the military and our foreign policies and the domestic policies.
Hey, thanks, lady.
The violence,
Appreciate you.
the surveillance, the policing. We see the military gear being used by the local police forces. We see now the military itself on our streets, as we see in LA. And Eisenhower's warning of the military robbing us of food is so relevant today when we see the cuts to SNAP programs side by side with this $1 trillion plus Pentagon. Eisenhower did not foresee the climate crisis and how militarism is not only a major contributor to that crisis, but also robs us of the funds we need to address it. These companies that profit from death and destruction receive billions and billions and billions annually in government contracts, making them so deeply invested in maintaining these humongous levels of military spending. And in turn, in what we have as legalized bribery in this country, they contribute massive funds to political campaigns, both the Democrats and the Republicans. In the 2024 elections, they spent over $40 million in campaigns. And it is indeed a great...
Hang on, real quick. So Crip Rick says he's just going to continue to go back and watch my old content. I'm about to drop a link in the chat to my How to Speak Socialist presentation. If you're looking for the very best deep dive to do that will help you get up to date with my content, go watch that. It's on my Substack. You can also find it on the YouTube channel if you want. Just look up How to Speak Socialist on the YouTube channel. But it is on my Substack, and I just dropped it in the chat for you. And it's totally free. So enjoy.
Investment, because for every $1 they contribute to political campaigns, they receive $10,000 back in government contracts, a return on investment that most businesses could only dream of. Some of us actually hoped, and very naively it turns out, that when Doge was created, perhaps it would look for that big pot of money in the Pentagon budget when they talked about cutting waste and fraud and abuse. But no, they did nothing of the sort. That's why we, as feminists, have been promoting our own ideas of what should be cut from the military. And I want to thank Danica and the others at CodePink who came up with this great sheet that we pass out in Congress saying, Doge, we did the math. Here's where $100 billion could be taken from the military and invested in people's needs and in the planet. We talk about cutting the F-35 program, reassessing the long-range missile defense program, cutting the ICBM program, cutting the US bases overseas, promoting diplomacy, and what that money could be used for instead. Also, as feminists, there are a number of other reforms that we propose, like banning political contributions from federal contractors, prohibiting companies with a history of overcharging the government from receiving new contracts, which would cut out just about every military contractor, telling—
Hey, you ordered my t-shirt? I designed the vast majority of t-shirts in the store. Some members of my community designed some of the stuff too, but I think I saw your order come through. You got the socialist or gay one. That I think that's what you got. I designed that one. Yeah. And I've got some new designs coming to the store. I haven't updated the store in a minute, but I do have some new designs coming to the store soon. The store has been ignored. I even owe people merch that I need to send them, but yeah, if you guys want to check, I do have a lot of cool stuff in my store though. So if you want to go check out my store, unwokeart.com, I have some, I have it already. I have all sorts of anti-communist stuff. It's unwokeart.com. You can find the link in the description below. I love my merch store. I have so much fun with it. So enjoy, buy stuff, support my work. It's awesome.
Officials who leave the Pentagon that they have to wait at least 5 years before working for military contractors. Banning former members of Congress from becoming lobbyists for military contractors, banning members of the military from working in congressional office as, quote, fellows. This is something we see every day when we're in Congress and we walk into the offices and somebody comes out when we say, who is dealing with foreign policy issues? They come out and they're off.
You know, actually, if you want to print off your own stickers, go to unwokeunderground.com and you can print off your own. You can buy them in the store too if you prefer to do that. But that's actually something that we played around with a little bit. I'm Jack. I was asked by my niece to help her write a paper in her cultural anthropology class. Could only do so after all the time spent here. You knew all the words in cultural anthropology from studying socialism. I don't know what that says. Thank you, though.
Oftentimes, the defense, quote, fellows. These are people from the different branches of the military who are actually embedded in our Congress. They spend a year on the taxpayer dime in the congressional offices, advising those members of Congress, particularly in the most important committees for them, which are foreign affairs, foreign relations, appropriations, and armed services, of how they should vote. I feel like at this point in our history, when we are spending such a massive amount of money that only grows every single year, the question is, what do we do? We'll talk about this more in the Q&A, but I do want to mention that there are things that are in our favor. The biggest thing in our favor is public opinion. It is quite incredible that despite what we hear from members of Congress, from the White House, and from the corporate media, the public sees through this. More and more, we have seen in the past 18 months how the public has grown disgusted by Israel's slaughter in Gaza.
True.
And the support for Israel is the lowest that it's ever been since public opinion polls have been taking the pulse of the American public.
Just too bad.
And we see how the public more and more does not want to spend these massive amounts of money on the military. That's why you hear people from the left and also from the right, people like Tucker Carlson, questioning why we are spending so much. People like Tom Massey, who recently put a poll on his Twitter account that asked people if the US should be giving military aid to Israel as it attacks Iran. And he had hundreds of thousands of people answering that, over 2 million views, and 85% of the respondents said no. So we have public opinion that is disgusted with this massive spending on military and wants to see an end to endless wars. And we do have increasing activism. Certainly the increasing activism we have seen around people coming out to support the Palestinian cause and to say no to Israel's slaughter and now starvation of the people of Gaza. But we are also seeing opposition in things like the No Kings rallies that happened this weekend all over the country, with over 1,000 rallies and people coming out by the tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands saying no to Trump's agenda. Unfortunately, a lot of the issues that tie in foreign policy were often not tied in to the agenda formally. But in all the videos that I have seen of those rallies, I have seen keffiyehs, I have seen Palestinian flags, I have seen people with signs that bring in this foreign policy agenda.
Hang on.
And I do
hang on. This is not true. The reason conservatives say it was a flop is because they said they were going to take over the country. Well, first of all, didn't they? Now, the left never came out and said, we're going to take over the country. That was never, and I listened to literally every single one of their organizing meetings. That was never said. So if you think that that's what they said, you're probably listening to conservatives who lied to you, because I literally streamed almost every single organizing meeting they had on this channel, and they never said that. But didn't they kind of take over the country? The entire day on Saturday and into the evening revolved around them. They took over the media cycle. They took over the country for a week leading up to the no. See, this is how I know you listen to conservative bullshit artists, and you should really stop that, Ruthie, because the Craigslist ad was an obvious con job. It wasn't real. Did anyone even look at this Craigslist ad? You guys know that literally anyone can post an ad on Craigslist, right? Literally anyone can post an ad on Craigslist. Do you know who posted that ad on Craigslist? Some conservative con artist who wanted to be able to say, hey, look, guys, I found this ad to go viral on social media. There is no way in this universe that ad was real. And yet you got people like Glenn Beck tweeting it out like it's real. Glenn Beck lying to millions of people about what's going on. And one of the people that clearly heard about it is here in the chat. And Ruthie, I don't want you to feel bad, but that was a lie. That's not real. So can we hinge back into reality, please? Because it was so obvious on the face of it.
Think that our activism, whether or not the people who are part of the Democratic Party and organizing some of these rallies want to see it, we are seeing the connections between the foreign policies and the domestic policies. We are the ones that have to bring those messages to all of these rallies, the messages of massive cutting to the Pentagon, the messages of stopping the US support for these wars, whether it's the war, Israel's war on Gaza, whether it's the war now on Iran, or whether it's the war in Ukraine. And this is something that a lot of our friends in the progressive movement, and certainly many people in the Democratic Party, need to be educated about.
No. Because I saw these videos too. Another conservative con job. Do you know how I know that every single one of those videos of someone saying, hey guys, I got paid to protest $200. Do you know how I know that they were all cons? Because conservatives do not use the same language that leftists use. And not a single one of those videos, sounded like they were on the left to me. Every single one of those videos I saw, it looks like it was a conservative who was trying to act like they would be the type of person that would do this stuff. And oh, they're just informing the public. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's so stupid. And by the way, guys, don't take my word for any of it. Just go to the events and see for yourself. Just go to the events. Talk to people at the events. See what actually goes on at the events. Because I promise you, the only people who believe that these Craigslist ads are real are people who've never actually been to the events. The only people who believe that these videos, I got paid $200 to do this. It's such bullshit. You've never actually been to the events. You've never actually seen the people. That's why it is so easy to con people when people don't show up to try to fact check.
Because many of them think that it is right to support militarily the funding of the war in Ukraine and don't understand that militarism is not the answer no matter where. That funding the war in Ukraine
look, another conservative retard.
Simply fueling an ongoing...
It didn't change anything. It was the largest single day protest in American history was a total flop. And all they did was cause property damage in Democrat cities. The right is so fucking retarded. Don't listen to retards, guys. Don't take advice from retards. Don't listen to commentary from retards. They have no idea what they're talking about.
War that is leading to deaths on all sides. So we have a lot of education to continue to do. We have a lot of organizing to continue to do. And finally, I would say that on the international level, it is inspiring to see the opposition that is growing to NATO and the US pressure on NATO countries to not only fulfill the 2% of gross national product that they were supposed to be spending on militarism, but now the call is to increase that 200-fold to have 5% of the GDP, which might not sound like a lot, but it is a massive amount of money to be spent on militarism. And there is tremendous pushback by our friends in Europe against this call for even more money to be spent on war. So I leave with that sense that the public is on our side, both domestically and globally. Our job is to figure out how we get our politicians, those with the power to cut the military, to do what we, the public, are demanding.
Thank you, Medea.
What exactly was accomplished on Saturday? Well, base stat, had you come to the presentation earlier, you would have found out that the largest single-day protest in American history was accomplished on Saturday. You would have found out that the goal of the people organizing these protests is to activate between 3 to 5% of the population on a sustained level. You would have found out that after Saturday, they have launched a process to try to train 1 million people on how to be organizers to lead their own events. So they're creating a system in which they're keeping people engaged in these events. They're giving them more stuff to do. They're organizing new protests. They're organizing new activities, new online trainings. The whole purpose of that is to get more leaders in the pipeline so they can hold more events so the protests can get even bigger. You would also know, if you've been following my content, that these protests have been going on all year long, literally since the inauguration. And they started off pretty small earlier this year, and now they've only gotten bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So what was accomplished? The largest single-day protest in American history. What was accomplished? Activating 5 million people nationwide. What was accomplished? Building a pipeline of people where they're going to train 1 million people to be permanent activists in their movement. What was accomplished? Giving people something to do to feel like they were part of a community so that they keep coming out to more and more and more and more and more events. What was accomplished? Activating the radical revolutionary far left, which we saw in cities all over the country. And by the way, they're not just activated in blue cities, they're activated in red cities too. Sounds like a pretty good day to me. Sounds like a pretty good day. Sounds like a pretty good effort. What exactly did the right accomplish on Saturday? Does anyone in the chat who wants to defend conservative media for lying to their audiences, does anyone want to tell me what exactly and precisely did the right accomplish on Saturday? You set me up to lay it all out? Well, you lobbed me a softball and I appreciate that. What did the right accomplish on Saturday? Nothing. Nothing. Oh, they made some memes. They made some memes. No. You cannot be polite on the internet. If you think you can be polite on the internet, you have not been a public person on the internet. I've been a public person on the internet for 5 years. I tried being polite. Do you know what being polite got me? Harassed every day of my life for 2.5 years. Literally. Go back on my channel and see my previous content. The only people who think that you can be nice on the internet and actually accomplish anything are people that have never actually been on the internet. So no, you're wrong about that. So back to the question about what the right accomplished on Saturday. Nothing.
Yeah, thank you so much for making us smarter. And I just want to share with everyone that Anne Wright was going to follow up after Medea's comments, but her plane was delayed, and so she's in the air. So we won't have Anne tonight, but she is going to send us some suggested reading materials in the follow-up message we send after this. So Medea, just in your concluding comment, I want to just, for everyone here, you've been doing this for a long time and really have a refined, as we heard, way of addressing this. But, those that aren't dealing with it every day are in the constant onslaught of lies and manipulation. And you've been able to stand against the tide of imperialism and violence every day to know very clearly that war is never the answer, militarism is never the answer. But are there ways that you think and how you evaluate each moment as it comes up? When you're going against a tide and everything the media is saying is the opposite of what you're doing, but you stand there with your confidence, you stand your ground, you lead others with facts. And there's that place where everybody feels upside down and you've got to move them back with, the facts. So are there things that you do or tools that you have that maybe you could share?
Well, first of all, there were many radical revolutionaries involved in Saturday. It wasn't just Antifa that are radical revolutionaries. There are many radical revolutionary groups that were involved on Saturday. There are radical revolutionaries involved in the progressive organizations. But larger picture, Vince, Antifa doesn't need those numbers. Antifa's goal is to provoke violence with the cops. Antifa doesn't need to be 5% of the population being black bloc Antifa in order to accomplish their goal. So I don't know what point you're trying to make, but I have a feeling you're trying to rationalize something, and I'm going to shut that down right now. When are you going to start your own movement? Bro, you don't even understand the left. Can we have a reality? People ask me this. Listen, can we have a reality check, guys? People keep asking me this. All the new people keep asking me this. And I keep telling you guys the same thing. And I feel like you're not listening to what I'm saying. People keep saying, when are we going to start a movement? When are we going to start organizing? You guys don't even understand the enemy you're fighting yet. You don't even understand what you're fighting. There is no amount of organizing that you can do right now that's going to accomplish anything, because you do not understand the enemy that you're fighting. So you want to go out and try to organize? Go give it a try. First of all, no one on the right is going to show up. I promise you that. Secondly, even if you did get people on the right to show up, you wouldn't know what problem to solve because you don't understand your enemy. What you all have to do is sit down, shut up, put aside everything you think you know from every loser, commentator, and pundit that's ever been influential on the right. You need to unlearn everything, and you need to start again. And you need to learn your enemy. Do they understand their enemy? Yes, they understand their enemy far better than the right does, significantly. And by the way, they don't even consider conservatives to be their enemy because they consider conservatives to be so feckless that they almost never even talk about them. They consider the Democratic Party to be far more of their enemy than they consider the right. They hate the Democratic Party significantly more than they hate conservatives. Do they understand their enemy? Yep. 100%. And by the way, they are decades ahead of us. The left is decades ahead of us. So, no, Tim is not learning. Tim Pool doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Tim Pool is at least a year behind me on this, and actually probably more. So Tim Pool doesn't know who the fuck he's talking, what he's talking about either. If you guys want to organize something, you have got to start by learning about the enemy you're fighting. If you do not understand the enemy you're fighting, you are literally just going to waste your time trying to do anything. Go ahead, give it a try. You think I'm wrong? Go try to organize something. Come back and let us know how it went. I've been doing this for 5 years now. I know exactly how it's going to go. Not trying to make anyone feel bad, but like, there is a reality that needs to be addressed. And if people are not willing to do the work to understand their enemy, and by the way, the left does the work. The left bases their entire activism program around education. So the left literally does exactly what I'm telling you to do. The right just doesn't want to do it. They want to rationalize. They want to say, no, it's too hard. It's too long. Your videos are too long, Karlyn. Well, guess what? You cannot learn about the left in half an hour. You can't. It's not possible. I can get it to you quicker than most. But I can't give you a 20-minute video to teach you everything you need to know. It doesn't exist. And it will never exist because it's not possible. The left takes this seriously. They hold entire conferences about this. They hold trainings about this. They hold coffee shop talks about this. They write entire books about this. The left takes the process of education seriously. The right does not. So start taking it seriously.
With the community here tonight.
Well, one of the things that we have done so well in the last year and a half is exposing the corruption of our government officials, and especially when it comes to the money they take from AIPAC. I think we have to do that more with the money they take from the...
Okay. I've been sounding the alarm on the Marxist radical left for years. Yada, 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 yada. You're now about to get hazed, and we're going to see if you survive in my community past the next 10 minutes. What is the left's definition of capitalism? No one except We Love Horror Films answer this question. We are stopping the entire stream just because We Love Horror Films wants to waste my fucking time and not listen to what I'm telling them. So now you're going to get hazed in my community and you're going to see what this is really like. No more fucking nice guy. What is the left's definition of capitalism? Only for this person. You are the only one to answer this question. If you know everything about the left, you've been sounding the alarm on it for years. What is the left's definition of capitalism? This is a 101 level question. If you do not understand the left's definition of capitalism, you don't know shit about shit, and you need to go to the back of the fucking class and take a seat and shut the fuck up and actually listen to what is going on. You now have 1 minute to... No. I asked you a very direct and straightforward question. What is the left's definition of capitalism? If you do not answer this question, either with an answer or by telling us you don't know, because it's obvious you don't know, by the way, but you can either admit that you don't know or you can give us an answer. If you do neither of those things, you will be banned from my chat. Do 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 do. What is the left's definition of capitalism? You know everything. You've been doing this for years. I've been teaching this stuff for 5 fucking years. Do you know how many people have come onto my channel pretending they know everything about the left when in fact they know nothing? We are waiting for your answer. What is the left's... No. You have one more chance before you're permanently banned from my channel. This is a channel where we listen. Open your fucking ears and listen to what is being said. What is the left's definition of capitalism? If you do not answer the question the next time you chat in, you will be permanently banned from my channel and you will not be welcome back. You can either admit that you don't know or you can give me an answer. No more of this deflecting bullshit. I have asked you a very straightforward question. You are now wasting my time. You are wasting the time of everyone else here because you know everything and you don't want to listen when anyone else tells you anything. What is the left's definition? Exactly. You don't fucking know. That is exactly the point, asshole. You have no idea what you're talking about, not with basic 101 level questions. Now, I will ask my regulars in the chat. I'm not going to give you the answers. My regulars in the chat are going to give you the answer. What is the left's definition of capitalism? Everyone tell this guy what's up. When I tell you that you don't know shit about shit, when I tell you that you need to sit down and shut your mouth and listen for once in your life, it's because I've been doing this a long time and I know exactly when blowhards come into my chat pretending they know things that they have no fucking idea about. The entire chat right now is telling you the left's definition of capitalism is private property ownership. Look at all the people in the chat giving the correct answer. Do you know why all those people in the chat are giving the correct answer? Because they shut the fuck up and listened to what the left had to say. And they didn't come in here saying, I know everything about everything and I'm going to tell you what's what. And I've been sounding the alarm for years. You don't know shit about shit. Now take a seat, keep your mouth shut, and listen. If you have a question related to what is being said in the presentation, you are allowed to ask that. But you are no longer permitted to engage beyond direct questions because you have now proven to me that you will waste my time, you will waste everyone else's time, and so you're regulated to the back for right now. If you want to stay around the community and learn, you need to prove to us that you actually want to be here and learn. Let that be a lesson for everyone else that's new here. I can be a very nice person, but if you test me and you waste my time and you don't listen when I take the time out to answer your questions when you're not super chatting in, because how many other creators, by the way, on the internet take the time to answer questions from people in the chat that aren't super chats? I will sit here and answer questions all night from people, regardless of whether they super chat in or not. If you have a question about the left, I will answer it. But when you prove to me that you are not listening to what I'm saying, you are disrespecting me, and you are disrespecting everyone else that's here that wants to learn. And then you will get put in your fucking place. And I promise you, there is not a single person here that knows more about the left today than I do. So you think you know more than I do? You can test your fucking luck and you can test your knowledge against me and everyone in the chat that's been watching my content for years. Let's continue.
Military contractors. But when it comes to AIPAC, our ability to show that their positions are so far removed from the positions of the public, and that is because they have been bought out by a lobby group. I think that is very effective, especially when we counter them in the halls, when we counter them as they're going for votes, and we show how cruel they are, how deceitful they are, how they just repeat the same lies or just say Hamas, 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 human shields, to really be pushing them. And I think that exposure is very important. We have to keep doing it, and we have to find ways to expose all of the money they take from companies that profit from war and destruction, and how they profit from companies that profit from the climate crisis, from big
Capitalism.
oil, from the continuing subsidies that our government gives to the companies that pollute our planet. So I'd say exposure is one thing. The other is to really use the language that is popular with people.
And just so all the newbies know, you will come to learn to love my yelling at stupid people. And it's okay to get off on it. It's all right. We all deal with enough dumb people every single day that it feels good to put some in their place sometimes. So don't be afraid to enjoy it. Don't be afraid. It's fine. I don't mind.
I think asking politicians if they're in favor of endless wars is a good thing to do, because they'll say, well, of course not. All of us want peace. And then following that up, then why are you supporting?
Well, Vince, you have now outlined why I've been screaming at you for the last week that liberals are not the same as communists. Congratulations, Vince, you made it. You have now discovered that liberals and communists are not the same thing. Do you know why liberals and communists aren't the same thing, Vince? Because liberals embrace capitalism, thus owning private property. Duh. Welcome, bro. Welcome. Okay. No. Now you're retard again. And in fact, you're getting put in a 5-minute timeout for that. You want to come in my chat and say that Antifa isn't a threat? You are a fucking moron if you think that Antifa is not a threat.
Endless wars.
How dumb.
I think when we talk to right-wing media.
And Antifa shuts down all of Los Angeles for like an entire fucking week. And I've got retards in my chat going, no, it's just a couple of people in Antifa. It's not really a threat. Are you shitting me? Why are we in retardia right now? Why has my chat gone retarded? The chat was so nice all week. Now we've gone retarded again.
To be saying to them, actually, you might accuse us of being fringe, of being supported by one foreign agent to another, whether it's the Chinese or the Iranians or whatever. But we actually have the most popular position there is, which is we want to stop putting our tax money into foreign wars. Now, in the introduction, Jody, you said something interesting, which you talked about the America Firsters. And I think it's the position of CodePink to say that is not our position, that we are internationalists. On the other hand, there is an argument to be made of taking people where they're at and using the popularity of America First among the Republicans, because when we counter them in Congress, we often find these America First people are the very ones who have an Israeli flag outside their office, who have a sign saying, I stand with Israel outside their office, and are the ones that jump up and down to be giving more and more of our tax dollars to foreign countries. And so to be confronting them and saying, what does America First mean if you are in favor of giving billions of our taxes to foreign wars? What does it mean if you are taking money from lobby groups that represent foreign countries? This is something that's worth doing, even though it doesn't quite fit into our worldview of not wanting to be isolationists, but wanting to be internationalists.
Fabulous examples. Thank you so much. And then, you know, we've watched the world really evolve over the last 22 years in a very dark way. I remember the day that the Iraq War started, and I think I was weeping, and like, yeah, what do we do now?
Hang on. Okay. I actually like this. This is a question I've answered many times on the channel, but I'll answer it again for new people. Almost everything I've learned about the left has been from interacting with them on Reddit. It depends where on Reddit you're interacting with them. That will dictate whether or not you're talking to the real left or not. You might not be talking to the real left, just so you know. But that's okay because you might be too. Like Reddit is a big place. Are they lying when they talk about the difference between personal and private property? Okay. This is the trick that the left tries to play on you. They say to you, and I bet you've heard this on Reddit, we don't want to take your stuff. We don't want to take your personal property. Don't worry. We aren't going to take your personal property. We only want private property. We only want bourgeois property. We're not going to take your personal property. Don't worry about it. They're trying to trick you because when the left says private property or the left says bourgeois property, what they mean is your ability to own a home, your ability to own land, your ability to own an apartment rental that you rent out as a landlord, your ability to own intellectual property, your ability to own a private business, whether that private business is big or small, and your parental rights over your children. That's what the left means when they say private property. What they mean is anything that you can use to create privatized individual wealth. So is the left going to take things like your truck or your gun? Well, maybe your gun. Gun's a bad example. Put gun aside. Is the left going to take things like your truck or your computer or your phone or your books or your pets or things you have around the house? No, they're not going to take that stuff. That is your personal property. But none of those things really allow you to mass privatized individual wealth. Things like owning homes, owning land, owning intellectual property, owning a private business, parental rights, because parental rights allow you to pass private wealth from parent to child through generational inheritance and stuff like that. That's what the left wants to do away with. So every time they say to you, we don't want to take your personal property, don't worry, they're trying to make you think that they don't want to take your stuff when in fact they want to take all the most important things. So they'll leave you with a truck and a computer and a phone and maybe some stuff around the house. Okay, fine, I guess that's great, but you will never own the house that you live in. You will be assigned the house. You will never own the land that you live on. That will be part of the collective. You won't own a private business because there are no private businesses in the socialist utopia. There's no money in the socialist utopia. And you won't have parental rights over your kids. No parental rights. That's considered to be a form of private property ownership. So, do they want to take everything? No, but they want to take the most important things. Hope that helps.
We're going to stop the next war. And you've pivoted a few times in this conversation today. So you are very good at pivoting away from the nonsense that's thrown at us into the what has to be done. And if you could share any wisdom on that, because I think it's very hard for people that are in the onslaught of the lies and the chaos and I always think of the tuning fork for peace. How can maybe talk about how do you acquire that tuning fork in the way you're able to just see the American First, and use that as a way to expose the violence, and also just the lightness of being that you are. And
Yeah, well, you know a fun fact about James? James stole that from me too after I put "Socialists Always Lie" on a t-shirt. And I have 2 t-shirts in my Unwoke Art merch store, but I have like a classic iconic t-shirt that says "Socialists Always Lie" on it, and it was uncanny. The minute that I put "Socialists Always Lie" on a t-shirt and that t-shirt started selling really well, James started saying all the time, the only thing communists do is lie. And I was like, huh, Jimmy, that sounds familiar, Jimmy. Where'd you get that, Jimmy? Where'd you get that? That language is awfully familiar. That's not the only thing he stole from me either. He stole so much shit from me that, like, we will watch speeches on this channel. Do you guys want to do a pause? Do you guys want to see James Lindsay stealing shit from me in real time? I actually have the video. I have it saved in the StreamYard. Do you want to do a quick pause? And do you guys want to see when James Lindsay has literally stole stuff out of my mouth that we've caught him saying on video? 1 in the chat if you want to see the James Lindsay stole my shit proof video. 2 in the chat if you don't and you just want to keep going. You can always order more t-shirts, bro. You can always order more than 1. It's okay. Okay. We're doing a pause. So we spent, for people who don't know, you can go back into just search for James Lindsay on my channel. We spent about a year and a half just watching James Lindsay's content to try to debunk him because his stuff is so wrong. It's so wrong. It's so awful. And James and I got into many feuds, and he talked shit about me on the internet, and James lied about me. And then I made friends with James Lindsay's stepdaughter. I'm still friends to this day, by the way, with James Lindsay's stepdaughter. And I found out all sorts of stuff about James, up to and including the fact that he forced his wife to be in an open marriage she didn't want to be in because James wanted to fuck his groupies at his Moms for Liberty events. That's according to James Lindsay's stepdaughter, by the way. Anyway, one of the things that happened when we started watching all of James's content is that James would say things that sounded mysteriously like they came out of my mouth. And I'm going to play you one of those things right now. Hang on. Where is it? The Jimmy stole my shit. Here it is. Okay, enjoy.
I steal from people all the time. I'm as bad as Claude.
What? Excuse me, what? I steal from people all the time. I'm as bad as Claudine Gay, is what he's about to say. Oops, James. Oops. Sometimes doing an extemporaneous speech where you don't script it beforehand leads you to saying the quiet part out loud. What was that? What was that? What, James?
Podcast is getting downloaded 10 million times because I thought it was profound. So you don't know where your message is going to get and where it's not going to get. I steal from people all the time. 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 I'm as bad as Claudine Gay.
We are here because socialists speak in a coded language. And the best way to learn that language and become inoculated to that language is by listening to what they say in the real world. You have to keep in mind that they are using the same vocabulary as us. They are not using the same dictionary. They have different definitions for the words. And if you don't understand what those definitions are, you fundamentally do not understand them. But as long as you're going to be here, you're going to follow my rules, okay? Number 1, the reason that we do Socialism Saturday is that socialists speak in a coded language. They may use the same vocabulary as us. They do not use the same dictionary as us, okay? Socialists speak in code. They may use the same vocabulary as us. They do not use the same dictionary as us. First thing you need to know, socialists speak in code, the reason that we watch this content is because we want to understand what their language means. Socialists use the same vocabulary as us. They do not use the same dictionary as us. So it is very important that we listen to the context of what they're saying to be able to ascertain what they mean. The reason that we do Socialism Saturday is because socialists speak in a coded language, okay? They may use the same vocabulary as us. They do not use the same dictionary.
Communists, this is a rule everybody needs to have in their head. Just, I want you to really pay attention to this. Keep it in the back of your head. It's going to be very familiar, but it's a little like, you know.
Oh God! Everyone needs to brace themselves for what he's about to say.
Cooked, so you got to think through the words a little bit. Communists share your vocabulary, but they do not share your dictionary.
Have we heard that before? Have we heard that before? Have you guys heard that before? Have you guys heard that on literally every episode of Socialism Saturday for like a year? Has everyone heard that before? Has everyone heard that before? Communists share your vocabulary, but they don't share your dictionary. Where have we heard that before? Where have we heard that before? Where have we heard that before? You want to tell me James isn't watching my stuff? Because it seems to me that everyone in my audience has heard that before. And James, I haven't listened to your content in years. So where'd you get that, James? Where'd you get that? Where'd you get that line, James? Because I've been saying that literally as an introduction for Socialism Saturday for a really long ass time. Where did you get that line, James? You gave this speech 2 weeks ago. Where'd you hear that, James? Who do you know, James? Who do you know that is like the person that's been decoding socialist language so that you actually understand it for fucking years now? Where'd you get that line, James? Where'd you get that line? Communists share your vocabulary, but they don't share your dictionary. James Lindsay, I like to steal things. I steal as much as Claudine Gay. That's the basic gist of it. We have found James stealing like many other times too. So yeah, that happened. Anyway. There's nothing really going on in this CodePink speech. This is why I'm so distracted by the chat. Anyway, let's get back to this, but that's, yes, James Lindsay stole my shit. You're going to learn way more here than you ever learned with James. I promise you, I guarantee it.
The love for humanity that you always are, and that everyone is that, and how that really serves your work in the, halls of Congress, and also in the streets, and also when you travel. I'm witnessing some pieces of you that are powerful. If you could talk about how others could instill them in themselves and what useful tools they are for standing strong in the face of the violence.
Well, first, let me start with the initial thing you said about how distraught we were when the U.S. decided to go to war in Iraq. And we said, what do we do? Well, we stop the next war. And in that case, it was the war with Iran. And we've been trying to stop that war for now decades. And at one point, we used to count it as a victory. And we supported President Obama when he signed that Iran nuclear deal and thought that it was a very important example of using diplomacy and something that he did against the wishes of a lot of people in his own administration and the Republicans at that time. And that brings up the issue of partisanship. While I was talking about the influence of big money in politics, there's also the influence of politics. And it is so sad to see that when there is a
The influence of
Democrat in
politics,
power,
yeah.
it's hard to get Democrats to
True.
stand up against war. And when there is a Republican in power, it's hard to get Republicans. They see everything from such a partisan lens. If there's a good resolution or bill that's proposed in Congress, but it comes from a Democrat, we can't these days get Republicans to sign on to it. It's just crazy. And the same is true if it's a bill that's proposed by Republicans. So one of the positive things of CodePink is to be nonpartisan, is to not fall into that trap and to be constantly saying that our issue is not electoral politics and it's not partisan politics. It's about principles. And our principle is life. Our principle is how do we protect life? Our principle is how do we project the love we have for our families and our communities onto the global community. And we do that, and thanks to you, Jody, a lot of that is by storytelling. It's by going and meeting people around the world. And that's one of the things that CodePink did from the very beginning, is to say that we have to go and meet the people that we are told are our enemies. And we have to talk to them. We have to learn from them. We have to come back and tell their stories. And we've done that over these decades. We brought Iraqi women to the United States, and they were Sunnis and Shia and Kurds and Christians, and we had them travel around the United States to tell their stories. We've done the same thing with Iranian women. We've done that with women from Palestine. We've traveled many times to Gaza to learn from the women there. I remember
this is what I'm saying. This is why I was so pissed off. I was like, and you know whose fault this is? Fucking Data Republicans. I told you guys that Data Republican was a total fucking con egg shill. I'm like, Anna Paulina Luna screaming about CodePink. This is like the last group of people we need to be worried about on the left. There are far, far, far more dangerous people on the left than CodePink. I promise you. It's so stupid. But no, let's do a big fucking grandstand thing, conservatives, to say, we're gonna ban CodePink from the Capitol. It's like, bro.
Beautiful time we went on International Women's Day, when we took 1,000 gift baskets. And it was so beautiful because we thought we had to bring essential goods, which of course we would want to do today. But at that time, we were told, no, bring them things that make them feel like women. Bring them perfume, bring them pretty scarves, bring them scented shampoo. And we did 1,000 of those gift baskets and traveled around giving them to the women and bringing joy to women and bringing those stories back to the US. And so I think if we're always grounded in what we want, which is a world where we recognize our common humanity, a world where we can learn from each other and spread those ideas and spread that sense of community and joy, that it keeps us grounded in the day-to-day, even though we are ground down by those people in power. And going into the halls of Congress almost every single day, it really does become a skill, because people who are not used to it, they constantly are saying after 1 day or 2 days, how do you keep doing this every day? And what I say, it is the community that we're part of. It's the community that comes into Congress with us every day, and we share those stories. It's the larger CodePink community that we're part of that really shows the beauty of sisterhood. And it's the global community that we're part of. And when we ground ourselves in that community, I think it gives us tremendous strength.
Thank you. Well, I think that's feminism.
Do creators react to my videos? I don't think so. Most creators are not smart enough to follow my content. Most creators have no idea what I'm talking about. They don't understand the left's language. it's going to bore them because they're looking for clickbait bullshit. So no, probably not. And that's fine.
So that community and that love for life that is rooted in how you meet. And I want to turn to the first question, which was, what tactics have you seen actually shift public or political will against militarism, and how can local groups like ours scale them up? And I think you just answered that question, that it starts with love and connection and value of life. What we're watching in Palestine is dehumanization. So our work is first to humanize and to be able to respond
Hang
that
on.
way. But are there other
Bro, first off, I need you to stop talking and I need you to go sit down and start listening. I am not trying to make content on the internet that other creators react to. That is not the goal of this. The goal is to make content that, first of all, allows me to research what the left is doing. These are research streams. I'm appealing to other people who actually want to research, not who want to do clickbait bullshit. I will never do clickbait bullshit on this channel. It will never happen. So my job is to research and to show people what's going on. The type of people that want to do deep dives will do well here. I am not going to make content for clickbait con artists that don't know what the fuck they're talking about to react to. You want to know why? That lowers the overall IQ of my audience. And I don't want that. I don't want to appeal to everyone on the internet. I want to do what I want to do. And I have built a community that allows me to do that. And if it's never the biggest YouTube channel in the world, that's fine. It doesn't have to be. I screwed up payments. Sorry, I accidentally deleted a message. Grandma Nay, it's fine. It's fine. Thank you, Grandma Nay, though. I appreciate it.
tactics that you see that shift? I mean, one for me this year that I just want to bring up, because you in the halls of Congress and the grounding down and 615 days or whatever in Congress, and watching them keep coming back with their stupidity. But I think one of the most heartening things that happened was early on that the people that you talk to are the people that are in the front desk and they're interns, and that hundreds of interns turned against their bosses and exposed their bosses for not listening. So I think one of the things is you never know who's listening. And
I have a Discord where we archive a lot of this stuff that no, you're not getting access to yet because you need to earn access to that Discord. Like, the only people who have access to that Discord are people who, like, either they've been in the right place at the right time or they've earned it. So I do have that. I'm working on building other ways to give people more access to this content. But also go to my Substack. There is a massive amount of information on my Substack. There is a massive amount of downloads on my Substack. That's the best place to start. But if you stick around the community and you become useful to us and you prove yourself and you prove you're not a psycho, then eventually, if you're very lucky, you might get added to my secret Discord that where I have all this stuff archived. But that Discord is a responsibility. You don't get that overnight, okay? You actually have to learn your stuff.
That we
it's like an
always try to
achievement.
change power without changing the people, because that's what changes power. And I think one of the things you did this year in Congress was really recognizing that you're educating. So even if it's a Republican members or even somebody that's funded $2 million.
How does one become useful? Well, the first thing that you need to do is just show up and learn the content. So just come to streams. Don't be a dick in the chat. Learn as much as you can. Ask good questions. And just get involved with the community and just learn it in a real way. And like, listen, like, you're not going to be able to understand this stuff in the Discord until you learn the language anyway. And so it's like, I'm not giving you more than you can chew right off the bat. It will be overwhelming if I add you to the Discord and you don't know the language. But just hang out with us. Watch the content. Yeah. 100 hours to reset your brain, 1,000 hours to be useful. A lot of people have earned their way into the Discord, man. I mean, it's not impossible.
By APAC. you're in there teaching, and the people sitting on the couch and the people sitting behind the desk learn. But I wonder if you have some other examples.
Well, I'm so glad you bring that up, Jody, because that really is perhaps.
Now I'm pausing every 2 seconds. We are the intelligentsia. We don't want to lose IQ. Karlyn spies on the left and infiltrates them for intelligence gathering, data information. That's exactly right. We are the elite leftist analysts of the internet. This is not a club for anyone. This is a club for smart people that are actually interested.
The thing that keeps us going in Congress. We used to go in and we'd say, we want to speak to somebody who works on foreign policy. And sometimes we would get them, and sometimes they'd say they're in a meeting, they're too busy, whatever. And so we talked to the people at the front desk, and we thought, oh gosh, that's kind of a waste of time. And then we realized when we see these people from the front desk come out to us and they run after us in the hall and they say, thank you for coming in, or they see us in the cafeteria and they come over and they say, thank you. We really learned a lot from you. It's really important that you come in here. Or we see them in the streets. It is constant. I remember just last week going into the office of perhaps the worst member of Congress. He's a new member from Florida. He took Mike Waltz's place. His name is Randy Fine.
Yeah, he is the
you
worst.
You might have heard of him because he's the one when he was a state
He's
senator.
awful.
He said that the keffiyeh was a terrorist rag. He uses the hashtag bomb away, starve
We
away.
agree. He
is
sucks.
just a horrific person.
True.
And we went in his office and did a protest, taking the tweets, the horrific things that he has said, and reading them in the office and saying, this is just shameful. He should be censored. He should not be allowed to be in Congress. Well, when I was going home that day and getting on my bicycle, who should come up but somebody from the office? And he said, we are so glad that you were in there today. That was so important. Everybody in the office needed to hear that. Believe me, there are people in there who don't agree with what the congressman says. So we have a lot more friends inside than we think. And the other thing that brings up, Jody, is the generational divide. And it is real, and it is so important. We see it in the public opinion polls where younger people, even in the Jewish community and even among Republicans, the younger people do not want to keep supporting Israel. The younger people do not want to keep supporting war. And we see that physically when we are in Congress, that it's the younger people who tend to give us the nod and the wink and the hugs. And they are the future leaders. So it is very important, and it is very inspiring to go into the offices and talk to them, even if they can't say what they feel while we're in there. They're hearing it, they're thinking about it. We oftentimes leave them with suggestions of.
Okay. Is there a document to explain the differences between Maoist, Stalinist, Trotskyist, and anarchists? No. The biggest difference that you need to know on the left in terms of so I study activism on this channel. I don't study philosophy. So I'm not talking about the philosophical differences. I'm talking about the differences in the leftist activist set. There is a schism on the left between Marxist-Leninists and Stalinists / Maoists. And Trotskyists are going to be combined with Marxist-Leninists. Okay? So Marxist-Leninists, like the Revolutionary Communists of America, like the vast majority of socialist activists are Marxist-Leninists. They do not like Stalin and they do not like Mao because they believe that Stalin ruined everything. Anarchism is a different thing on the left. Anarchism is not the same. Anarcho-communism is not the same as anarcho-capitalism. So there's different types of anarchism. But no, I don't have a document for that. Maybe it's something I can think about. But yeah. Oh, this is a good resource. Thanks, average person.
Of movies they could watch, of resources they could look at. And we've had people who've come to us and say that they have actually watched those movies and it changed their minds. So it is very important, the education we do at all different levels.
True.
And I know that people are just disgusted with their members of Congress. And, when we put out alerts and we say, call your member of Congress, people are like, why should we do that? One thing is because the people who answer the phones need to hear it. And the other is that eventually they are going to change their minds, just like the title of that book that said, one day everybody will have been against this war. That is so true. And we see it happening already when there are recent resolutions that have gone to Congress where people who we never thought would sign on to them are now signing on to them. So the change is slow and it's painful, but it is happening.
Thank you. I think the patience part is also very important to remember. I think, there's the wanting it to change right now and not recognizing how much money and how many years it's been building and building and building. And so that it does take the patience of eroding and eroding and eroding. And that's about relationship. And that's creating that relationship. I heard from a few people that were at the marches this weekend. And, we see that at the marches, the messages of no war and end the Pentagon funding and stop war in Iran and Palestine aren't part of the messaging. So with CodePink and the locals, they show up with this other messaging. And from everyone I talked to in the locals, they were so excited because they were teaching the entire time. Somebody who wanted to send weapons to Ukraine, somebody who wanted actually a war to happen on Iran because they were Iranian and they don't like, so being able to talk them down, like with a member of Congress, but this is war, this is violence, people die. And you realize how much reactivity there is out there that isn't thoughtful. And when you get people to actually reflect, they think about it in a different way. There's just so much of like, I want to stop this in any way possible that doesn't have the depth of thinking or understanding. And so to answer your question, it's whatever we do in sharing matters wherever you do it. I was just on the fast outside of a grocery stores every day. And the chance for people to recognize humanity when they're feeling the inhumanity. I got so many hugs. I thought I had a sign that said, hug me. And all it said was, fast for Gaza, day 7. Because when you're not seeing it in the media, the media feels like everything. And it's full of toxicity and lies. But when you see another human being that stands with you, it allows you to stand there because you're not in this generous community of peace and love. You're out there all alone. And just reminding us all that, that is the disease of America, is loneliness. And that even just being a place where the conversation can be had is peace. I mean, we're for diplomacy, right? So helping people outside of the toxic propaganda in a calm and useful way.
Hang on, we got a super chat from Bookmark, new subscriber. Thanks for your work explaining all this. I'm sorry if this is asked before, but do you sell or plan to sell literal dictionaries of commie speak? Actually, I'm working on one. Actually, yeah. I'm working on one. I actually have I've been working on this for a minute. I have a comprehensive woke dictionary that breaks down literally all the communist language. I'm also working on another book called Re-Education, which is basically like the intro guide to like all of this. So yes. Do I know when that book is going to be done? No. But I am working on it. Guys, I'm constantly trying to figure out ways to make this content more accessible to people. It's honestly just a matter of hours in the day right now. Like, there's just so much stuff going on. There's so much analysis that needs to be done. I am doing my very best to try to keep up with everything, but the more you guys support my work, the more my work gets out there, the more ability I'm going to have to be able to spend time on stuff like this. So you guys can help me out by continuing to fund it and sharing it and stuff like that. And I really do appreciate it. But yes, the woke dictionary is it's called the Socialist Dictionary. It's actually in progress right now. And it's got a massive word list. Like, I don't know. I went through painstaking measures to get the word list perfect.
Matters. So, Medea's doing it in the halls of Congress, but anywhere
I do have a shorter Substack article with that
because the propaganda is so toxic and so all pervasive that you think it's the world when the country is with us. That number keeps going up. And from the Democratic Party, it's the one thing like the majority of Democrats agree on, more than climate change, more than immigration. So even just being able to find that and have the confidence in it.
And also so many Republicans. I mean, when we went to the military parade this weekend, we took the CodePink stickers, the Make Out Not War. We had that on our T-shirts, and we went through singing When We Make Peace Instead of War, Oh, How I Want to Be in That Number, and we are ready for a peaceful world. And we got wonderful response from people. We had lots of people who came up and wanted the stickers, wanted to talk to us. We were going to, but didn't have time to do surveys with people. But I want to do that. And I think anybody could do that anywhere at your farmer's market or wherever. And maybe we could put them up, the sample questions on the CodePink site somewhere. But just asking people, do you think we're spending too much, too little, or just enough on the military, and why? Do you think we should be giving money to for weapons to Israel, to Ukraine, things like that? And I think we're going to find a lot of people, no matter what their political affiliation is, agree with us. And it is, as you say, Jody, a way to start a discussion with people. And that is just so important and can be done on the one-to-one level wherever you are.
So the next question I see is about what do we do right now with the Israel, it says Israel, US, Iran war. And, maybe unpacking that for everyone, like what would be the engagement? What would be the...
No. This is retarded. It is retarded to believe the Democrats are communists. You are literally listening to a presentation with actual leftists telling you how much they hate the Democratic Party. If you don't get it by now, you are a retard and not smart enough to be here. We do not behave like this on this channel.
The educational tools that you would recommend?
Well, we are so lucky that Senator Tim Kaine today introduced this War Powers Resolution. And for anybody who doesn't know what that means, it is a piece of legislation that says that the president cannot go to war or support a war on Iran without going to Congress first. And it's called a privilege resolution, which means it has to go for a vote. So this is going to be a great opportunity for us to be pushing
Night, guys. I
every
know we're running late
senator
tonight.
to vote in favor of the War Powers Resolution. And they're going to have to be on record. And it's going to be a very tough decision for them to make. Do they go with AIPAC that wants the U.S. to join Israel in a war in Iran? Or do they go with the American public that doesn't want that? And I say to people, don't just call your own senators, call your kids' senators, your parents' senators, your brother, your sister's senators, call, as many senators as you can. We don't have a lot of time. We don't know when that vote is going to come up, but it is a perfect vehicle for us. And then there's going to be the same kind of vehicle in the House. That will not go for a vote, unfortunately, but it will still, we can force members of the House side to put on record where they stand as well. So these are good things. We don't always have a vehicle to push our members of Congress, but now we do. And I think, I haven't seen opinion polls, but I really do believe that Americans are afraid of the U.S. joining Israel in a war on Iran. They're seeing the Israelis being killed in this. They're seeing that Iran is not a militia group, but it is a military, and it can wreak havoc, not just on Israel, but on U.S. bases. And that would lead to a full-scale disastrous catastrophe.
Thank you. So the next question is, how do you stay calm and centered when speaking with people that have vastly different points of view or alternative facts? I get so
Alternative
flustered and don't
facts.
communicate effectively or disengage entirely. I'm trying to sit with my discomfort, want to be calm and informed speaker. Any help you can give me? How to
Well,
be a diplomat.
yeah, I mean, one is to recognize that if you don't stay calm, you're losing the advantage. The
True.
advantage is staying calm. And so you have to keep telling yourself that. And then going back to them with questions like, do you care about the children in Palestine? Does it bother you that there are children that are starving right now? Is this something you even think about? Going back to these basic issues of children, of life, and putting them on the spot to answer very simple, basic questions about their humanity or lack of humanity. But staying calm is absolutely essential. And I can't say that I always do. Sometimes I lose it and then I kind of hit myself for losing it. It's important to try to stay present and on the high ground.
There's someone else that's wondering, you know, if we're looking even beyond Iran, Israel, with Pakistan, India, on the two sides of this and in concern, how do we look at the global complexity that this is tilting?
Well, it's hard to figure out now where the different countries are landing. It's quite interesting that Putin is putting himself forward now to mediate while he's involved in a terrible war in Ukraine. That India and Pakistan both have interesting and complex relationships with Iran, and in the case of India, with Israel. And yet, in the case of India, they have a public internally, domestically, that is siding with the Palestinians. And that is true all over the globe. I mean, it's quite amazing to see that in the Arab world, while they have wanted to not side with Iran or with Palestine, they're being forced to by their own public. And they might be good at repressing their public and not letting them come out to protest, but they know, they have a pulse, that if they go too far, they could risk losing power themselves. And so that is why it is so complicated. It's so interesting right now that the Western world, and we're seeing the G7 meeting that is just starting in Canada, that they are really now no longer can claim the mantle of democracies as defenders of human rights. They've been exposed terribly. And so it's up to other countries, and countries especially in the global South, to come forward as countries that really do defend the international norms, do defend human rights, do defend the dignity of people around the world. And so it is a sea change, and it is a historic change that we're witnessing, not just alternative economics with the BRICS, but also
Alternative
a
economics.
transition away from people thinking of the US and the Western countries as the standard bearers for democracy.
So we're coming to the end of our time, and you know, you're talking about this complexity and the darkness. And so, Medea, what gives you hope and what brings you joy? Because it is,
oh my God,
patience. It is a long road. We are roading it.
What brings
and I
you
think,
joy, guys?
You know, one of the things at CodePink we try to create is a community of care to help us all move through this and not be, you know, worn down by what is so dark and so horrible. So I know we'd all love to know what gives you hope and what brings you joy.
Well, while I'm spending my time in DC, I also recognize that the power we have is local. And seeing all these new CodePink chapters, all these new people who are involved in CodePink, all of the actions that the locals are doing, that people individually are doing, whether it's confronting their members of Congress, organizing in their community, being out in the community and building locally, that's what gives me hope. And I want to thank the staff of CodePink for nurturing those local communities, for building the organization in a time when people are looking for organizations that they can support, that they can be part of, that they can look to for inspiration. So that is definitely something that gives me hope. And I must say, Jody, having been with you for several decades now, you give me hope because you are always looking for the positive side, for how we can bring out the best in people, for how we can keep pushing ourselves to go further, find new and creative ways of doing things. And so that constant creativity, the constant joy, the constant looking for ways of getting around the obstacles and doing it in, as you always say, the disarming way, whether we are in our pink or we are singing or dancing or storytelling or laughing. Joy is what we all want to be a part of. And as long as we can put that to the fore and keep that as part of the CodePink organizing, we will keep growing as an organization and keep bringing new people in. And that is certainly something that gives me a lot of hope.
Thank you so much.
All right.
And
this has been a boring presentation. I can't do anymore. I congratulations to everyone who made it through the end. This is like one of the most boring, like, this is why it's like, I don't watch CodePink that often because it's usually boring. That's not to say it's always boring. The last feminist workshop we did, it was actually kind of interesting. The last one was actually pretty good. This one sucked. It was so boring. And this is who the Republicans are afraid of. Medea Benjamin is who Republicans are afraid of as the great menace of the left wing. Like, are you shitting me? Well, on the bright side, Trump has now decided to resume mass deportations of people working in the hospitality industry. So at least there's that. Trump listened to the uproar among all the people who were upset that he was going to stop mass deportations for people who worked for hotels and for farms and stuff. And apparently Trump is now going to deport the people working for hotels, which I think is good. I say deport them all. Who else wants to deport them all? I want to deport everyone, except for people I like and I agree with. I definitely want to deport communists. I think that would be really good. Anyway, guys, thank you for making it to the very end. Thank you to everyone who sent in super chats. The best way to support my work is by heading over to the Substack, Karlyn, Karlyn, .substack.com, signing up for $8 a month, $80 a year. And that is how you keep me in business. And I'm going to go do work now. I'm off. I will be back at 5 p.m. tomorrow, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Mount the like button on the way out the door. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you are not already. I'm also going to restart my computer so you actually don't see me just like glitching around. That'll be pretty great. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Have a good one. Bye. Bye, guys. Bye.
How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you here?
That's difficult to answer. it influenced my thinking and consequently my action?
What is it you're trying to do with your life?
Play the piano for the people.
I'm not clear. How is it that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital?
That's difficult to answer.